It's like we're back in the studio. Los Angeles, 1997.
That's a good analogy.
Greg Hurwitz behind the controls. This is Greg.
I don't need to tell the truth, but I never lie. I don't need to bow to you. You're just passing by. I never wanted to be the one you bitch and moan and come home to. But as long as you look good, I come back to you. Get inside my troubled mind with all of your threats. Sometimes I think I was blind. Not before we met. I never wanted to be the one that you depend on for your life. When you cry, it smells like soup. Sound like show tonight. Never feel how I said all night. I got a right. Each time I said all night. No, I just might. You make me stay all night. It's just that side of you tonight that makes me stay all night. I'm gonna stay all night. You're an evil little girl. I'm a twisted man, tearing through your perfect world. Make you understand. I never wanted to be the one you bitch and moan and come home to. But as long as you look good, I come back to you. And do the things you said all night. I got it right. Each time I said all night. No, I just might. You make me sad all night. It's just that side of you tonight that makes me sad all night. I'm gonna stay all. I would never treat you bad. You deserve the best from me. If you want to keep your place, you better get down on yours.
Yeah, Todd wrote this one.
Yeah. Good thing.
This is not mine.
Each time I said all night, no, I just might. You make me sad all night. It's just that side of you tonight that makes me sad all night. I'm gonna stay all night.
R.I.P. Todd.
The round robin, your questions, comments, wagers, give us a reason. Sleeper fantasy play, your best alternative line, whatever you have. Text the round robin 757-354-5517.
Can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose prospects and bright stars through the perilous fight, o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, take us past our spangled banner yet wave, for the land of the brave and the home of the brave.
This is the Deep End Broadcasting Network.
You are tuned in to the Round Robin with Stephen Murray on Deep End Broadcasting.
Oddly enough, I think I like the Sunday morning broadcast. These Friday special editions, although we get ahead of the weekend, you kind of get it over with. You have the luxury of listening whenever to the round robin here on the Deep End Broadcasting Network. You have the luxury of listening or viewing whenever up until Sunday morning. There's just something special about being that live Sunday early. I'm here. I'm up. I'm the one doing it. Where maybe on the Friday afternoon, we're kind of lost in the shuffle of the mix of everyone else out there broadcasting and doing the same thing that we're doing today, which is maybe not necessarily the way that we do things, but our show and how we produce and give you the content of our show, maybe it still holds its unique little standard on a Friday afternoon compared to the rest of the competition. So that's going to be the angle that we're going to go with today. I am Stephen Murray. This is the Round Robin on the Deep End Broadcasting Network. We are from the beautiful shorelines of Virginia Beach, Virginia, the United States of America. It is 11:13 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we have a full show for you, as always. We're going to get into everything on the NFL wagering slate. That's what we're about here on the Round Robin. We're going to dissect most of the angles that we can here on the NFL wagering menu, see what kind of cool angles we can take with touchdown score props, maybe find some blowouts, some higher scoring games, stuff like that. Try to turn your $20 into a nice $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 or so. So that's the goal on this show here on week 17, which should be our specialty. I think I've got a pretty good angle myself as we go along, but good show lined up for sure. Dave Grande, we'll put him first after this segment this week. Just got off the phone. Maybe that's why we're a couple minutes getting on the air. Is we covered a ton with Dave and a lot of good stuff. Every week has been great with Dave so far. Sending his wife, by the way, a nice little wine club of the month subscription for all his efforts. So, fellas, get your girls the wine. You know what I'm saying? And gonna get Miss Dill Grande her California Reds that she can kick back, drink, and listen to the Deep End Broadcasting Network, and her husband breaking down NFL football. So that's what we'll do with Dave coming up. Lots of good stuff with him. You're not going to want to miss all the content and all the fun stuff we got going on. I mean, it's bowl weeks. We have soccer games coming hot and heavy. I got to do a Friday soccer paycheck show still at 4:00 today. As we will have games going on. We'll have, I think, 4 championship games and 2 EPL games live in action while we're on the air today. A full weekend of EPL. The championship is scattered about 2. There's more EPL games next week during the week. There is literally soccer every day at this point. So a Friday soccer paycheck will come later on today as well. So long working day here in the studios. First things first, though. And if you're traveling about, go ahead and keep us tuned in. That's kind of why we're on here this Friday afternoon. If you're traveling around town, you have nothing else better to do. You got the bowl games coming up. I like some picks there. I like Maryland with a quarterback who's going to be somewhat experienced against I think NC State's missing 3 quarterbacks for this game. So maybe Maryland. And here's the other thing. A lot of these teams that you just wouldn't think are putting up points are actually getting their fair share, like Oklahoma, right? I mean, they had such a good game. So a lot of bowl games too, a lot of kind of keep track of through the show for you. So if you want the full NFL wagering slate, because there's a lot of good opportunity this weekend, keep us tuned in for the next couple of hours anyway. Dave Grande, Next segment, Nephew Dave will pop in the studio after that. The Ant-Man, he's a busy working man. He's been on vacation. He's been sick, whatever. The Ant-Man will reemerge at some point. Best to be assured of that. So here's the general thing that we have going on this weekend. I think it's generally going to be nicer weather all over the place. Things can always change, but the general perception of what I have going on right now in my mind is that we are looking at lots of opportunity to have football games in nice conditions with low over-unders. So I will start with a general blanket scenario there. Let's just kind of go through the list. I'll give you the updated odds as we speak and where we stand, and then we'll talk about the playoff picture as well, and then we'll go ahead and take the break. All right, so Panthers at Bucks. Bucks are now minus 3.5. That line has just moved over under 40.5. I think that's a lower over under there. Browns and Commanders. Commanders are a slight favorite at home, minus 1.5, 40.5. Nicer weather there, maybe points there. Saints and the Eagles, 42.5 is the over under. Eagles minus 6.5. That line has moved just a little bit towards the Eagles, but nicer weather there could have some points there potentially. Falcons and the Cardinals. The Falcons minus 3 over under 42.5. That's a weird line to me. Jacksonville minus 4 at Houston, over under 43.5. The current line there in Houston. No weather issues there. No weather issues in Detroit with the Bears and the Lions. Lions minus 6 over under 52.5. The Patriots minus 2.5. 41.5 over the Dolphins. So that line has now moved to less than the field goal for New England. Kansas City minus 12.5, 44.5 at home against Denver. The Colts and the Giants, 1 o'clock game here, minus 5.5 over under 38.5. The 4 o'clock window has the Jets as a favorite on the road, interestingly enough, at the Seahawks, minus 1.5, 42.5. The Niners minus 9.5 at the Raiders, 41.5. Packers minus 3, 48.5 over under at home against the Vikings in Lambeau Field. What's up, Jake? And everyone out there in Lambeau, all our buddies. Chargers minus 6.5, 42.5 against the Rams. The Ravens minus 2.5, 35.5 at home against the Steelers Sunday night. And the big game Monday night with a lot of big games really on the slate. A lot of fun games this weekend. 1.5 for the Bills, 49.5. So here's the playoff picture as we speak. I had this up here. So where did it go? Standing. Here we go. That's it. Yep. Couple clicks away. All right, the playoff picture for the AFC sits like this. So we talked about the Monday night game being a big game. The Bills are at the Bengals. Right now, the Bills are the 1 seed, 12-3. Chiefs, 12-3 in the 2nd seed. So remember, the first place team gets the bye now, not necessarily the Chiefs or the second place team does not. So the Chiefs, easy game at home, maybe, they say, by point spread standards. We'll see what Dave says about that. We're going to dissect the Chiefs and the Broncos for sure. But the Chiefs can hop into the first spot. So Buffalo has all the motivation in the world to win this game at Cincinnati. But Cincinnati's tough. Maybe they can find themselves at home with the number 1 seed as well. They're the number 3 seed at 11-4, so they just trailed the Bills and Chiefs by a game. The Ravens, although they are in the playoffs, they are 10-5. They could still win the AFC North, but they play the Steelers in what will be an elimination game basically for the Steelers, you would think. Maybe not. The Chargers, 9-6. They're locked into the playoffs. They've had a decent run here, so the Chargers are locked in to the 6th seed in the hunt. The Jaguars can still win the AFC South. They're 7-8.
Yes, that is. So they are right there. They are in the driver's seat. They control their own destiny right now. Tennessee is going to have to beat Jacksonville, and then they will be by a tiebreaker. Yeah, that's going to be a weird one. They play each other next week, so that's going to mean a lot in that game, to be honest. The Dolphins are in the 7th seed and slipping. They play in New England, who is on the bubble, in the 8th. So this is a de facto playoff game, maybe in a way, to be honest. The Jets, they'll have a somewhat of a de facto playoff game for sure against the Seahawks. They are on the outside looking in at 7-8 as well. So 7-8 for the Pats, 7-8 for the Jets. They're the Steelers at 7-8. Everyone looking for New England to knock off Miami. And then if the Jets and Steelers can win, man, that is a logjam going into the final week of the season. The Titans, they are all the way down in the 11th spot, but 7-9, they control their own destiny with the game against the Texans. I'm sorry, the Jaguars in week 18 next week. Raiders, they are still in it, but they are not going to make the playoffs. They're too far out of it. They've canned their quarterback, Derek Carr. If you didn't know that, Derek Carr is gone, and I'm talking gone. He is out of the building. Jared Stidham, we all know him from our Patriot days. He is terrible. He'll be the quarterback for the Raiders. We'll ask Bill Grande that too coming up. Jared Stidham's prospects against the 49ers, that could be a bloodbath. NFC style. In the NFC, the Eagles holding on to the 1 seed at 13-2. Will Jalen Hurts play? We don't know. Maybe he will, maybe he won't. Vikings have the 2nd seed right now at 12-3. 49ers motivated for a 2nd seed, probably. 11-4 overall. Dallas in the playoffs at 12-4. They can win the division. They're trailing the Eagles by a good distance, but if the Eagles were ultimately to trip up and the proverbial racehorse who's having the declared win kind of like pulls up lame right before the finish line, he gets past. That kind of is what's going to have to happen for the Cowboys to get into first place. The Buccaneers win the de facto playoff game this week against the Panthers. We have a good slate. So Buccaneers and Panthers mean a lot. Buccaneers in the driver's seat right now. They're the 4th spot. This tells you everything. If it's the de facto playoff game and the Panthers are in the 11th spot at 6-9, this is essentially a 4 versus 11 seed to see who gets the 4 seed. It's crazy. That is like a fighter fighting someone way down on the list there, I guess. Maybe not even. You can't even give Tampa that much credit. Let's see here. All right, so the Giants, Commanders, they are in the driver's seat right now. That tie is helping both of those teams. 8-6-1 for the Giants, 7-7-1 for the Commanders. And then here we are. Here's your logjam of 7-8 teams again. Seahawks, Lions, Packers. Here we go, Pack. They're charging hard. They're your Panthers and Saints, both contending for the NFC South at 6-9. This is very confusing. There's a lot of football still left to be played. Every game, for the most part, has some kind of implications. And that is going to be fun. We'll get right to it. We'll get Dave Grande in here. We'll go ahead and break down everything on this slate with him. I'm excited for it. I think we can see a lot of points this weekend in a lot of these games. I'm going to start to look at a lot of alternative overs. We're going to get some scorer props here, hopefully hook the right ones together. I got a bad beat story when it comes Lions time with Bill Grande. I'll share that with you guys as well. And we look forward to crushing the weekend, hopefully. All right, so we'll take a break. We'll go ahead. We'll get Dave Grande queued up, and then we'll be off and running. This is the Round the Robin. This is the Deep End Broadcasting Network. We will do our full deep dive in the NFL later as well, but we're going to come up with everything. Blowouts, alternative totals, talk about some scores potentially coming up. Bear with the slight glitch for a minute on the audio. It'll work itself out, people. But we'll be back after this with Dave Grande.
Shuckers Cafe and Raw Bar specializes in delicious cuisine, refreshing drinks, and a laid-back atmosphere. We opened our doors in 1995 and have enjoyed being a place to either relax or celebrate ever since. Whether you are in the mood to indulge in a great meal with your friends and family or watch the game, we promise that our inventive menu, attentive service, and skilled bartenders will have you truly satisfied. Both of our locations have spacious outdoor patios for enjoying the breeze and catching a little sun. Our friendly staff at CP Shuckers will make your next dining experience a pleasant one by delivering personal care. We are open until 2 a.m. Full menu will be served until 10 p.m. and late night limited menu until 1 a.m. For larger parties, please give the location of choice a call. Pacific Avenue, 757-425-8676 or Shore Drive, 757-412-2929. More information at cpshuckers.com. Thank you for your continued support and have a shucking good time.
Hey, does your home have algae or stains on the siding? Is there grime built up on your deck or brick patio? Coastal Pressure Washing Services has a warranty of professional services. From pressure washing to window cleaning to deck and fence staining, as well as dryer vent cleaning, you got it all. Call Coastal Pressure Washing at area code 757-439-9810 or visit our website at coastalpressurewashing.net. Again, call Coastal Pressure Washing at area code 757-439-9810 or visit our website at coastalpressurewashing.net.
Dependable Solutions can provide all voiceover services for your advanced audio production needs. Think of us as an inexpensive option, no matter what the size of the project is. From one-word cameos to full script productions, contact Dependable Solutions at 757-354-5517. Do you want to advertise with Deep End Broadcasting? Send us an email at deepend757@yahoo.com. That's deepend757@yahoo.com.
This is the Deep End Broadcasting Network.
It is estimated that 23% of car accidents each year involve a cell phone. That's 1.3 million accidents a year. Reaching for your phone, you are 4 times more likely to crash. Dialing on your phone, 2.8 times more likely to crash. And texting on your phone, you are 23 times more likely to crash. Attentive drivers are safe drivers.
Know your gambling limits. Don't ever bet what you can't cover. Wagering on sports is only fun when you do it the right way. Not every bet will win. When you get on a bad run, know it and avoid trouble. Know your gambling limits.
Control your alcohol. Don't fight. Don't drink and drive. Your one punch could kill someone. It happens. You're behind the wheel. You may think you are fine, but then the other driver is under the influence of texting, and then you are done. Control your alcohol.
This is the Deep End Broadcasting Network.
Welcome back. With us from Field Level Media, he is out on the West Coast, is our man Dave Grande here in his usual spot. Real quick, Dave, before we get to any NFL, in these 2 college playoff games, do you see either of these underdogs with a chance to win them for points' sake and fun of it all? Could you see Ohio State and Georgia being a shootout? And one more on top of that, is there any other bowl game in particular that you like best overall?
Well, I think if I had to pick who would win the 2 big games, I would pick the favorites. I think Michigan will wear down TCU. I'm not convinced that TCU is one of the top 10 teams in the nation, let alone top four. It just doesn't make any sense to me how they retained their ranking, after losing in their conference championship game. I mean, that conference was not very good this year, and is only going to get worse when the two of their top teams leave. I'm shocked. I'm not shocked that they retained their position, but I thought it was going to be tight whether Alabama was going to get in ahead of them. The fact that they retained their, a spot ahead of Ohio State, to me, is embarrassing. I think Ohio State is 2 touchdowns better than them, which probably makes Michigan 2 touchdowns better. I think that game will start off conservatively. 2 teams that like to run the ball and not make mistakes. But I just think Michigan is too big and too powerful. Will wear them down in the second half. Probably win that game by 10 to 14 points. The other game I think is much more interesting. Could easily be the championship game. I'm a little surprised the line is so high, but I guess that's just because maybe I'm underrating Georgia a little bit. I think Ohio State is very good. Clearly, if Ohio State, hadn't folded up in the second half against Michigan, they wouldn't be in this game, obviously. And all season long, there was discussion: are they the better team? Should they be number one? Clearly they don't deserve that now. But without that last second half against Michigan, this game would probably be a field goal, type of game. I won't be surprised if it ends up that way. I won't be surprised if Ohio State wins this game. But like I said, if I had to pick one, I'd pick Georgia just because they're, until they're beaten, I can't imagine picking against them. But I think this is, has the potential to be a high-scoring and very tight game that could possibly go into overtime.
All right. Any other bowl? Anything? You got a lot of West Coast insight. Are there any bowls maybe kind of off the radar that we have left here on the slate that you're seeing like this team's going to win? Maybe the Utah Penn State game, something like that.
Well, I'm a Cal guy, and we're not exactly once again invited to the big party here.
Right.
And we're busy firing our offensive coordinator and watching our not top one, but top 2 quarterbacks enter the transfer portal, which is going to be interesting. I would say this, my general impression, if I had to make a general impression about the bowl games this year, I think the MAC gets a lot of TV time because they play their games during the week. You got nothing better to do on a Wednesday night. You flip on the TV, and there we got Bowling Green playing Miami, Ohio.
Right.
The MAC was particularly bad this year. And there were a couple of good teams. I thought, Eastern Michigan, to me, looked like a good team. Maybe their conference champ was a good team. But, they got 7 or 8 teams in bowl games, and they don't belong. And so I would, in matchups of like the Mountain West and the MAC, which there tends to be a couple, I think the Mountain West had a far better conference this year than the MAC. I'd be looking to go against the MAC in all remaining games.
Okay, good. All right, I like that angle. That's the stuff we want to talk about. All right, fantasy-wise, a lot of teams maybe in interesting predicaments this week. Maybe they need a quarterback, a running back. Generally, if there's someone out there in the waiver wire available, who are you looking to pick up?
Well, first off, I'm not talking about fantasy anymore. Things did not go well in my semifinal matchup. Not that it was a surprise. There was one powerhouse team in my league, and I wanted to avoid them in the first round of the playoffs. I was unsuccessful in that. I ended up matching up with them and fighting them toe-to-toe. I mean, I've got no regrets on basically how my team played. Not everybody did great, but I did well enough that over a 2-week period, I ended up losing by 5.8 points, the equivalent of a touchdown. So that didn't go particularly well, but I got to give the other guy credit. First off, number one, I thought he was crazy when he did this. last weekend, if you remember, the Cleveland New Orleans game,
Yep.
in the bad weather, like people were talking about it being the lowest scoring game ever, this season, the lowest total. And he not only had Nick Chubb in that game, which he kind of had to, but he made a change from the previous week. He took out DeAndre Hopkins, which wasn't a bad move because, the quarterback wasn't very good. But he inserted Alvin Kamara in that same game, and I thought, wow, this guy's really rolling the dice on a game people are projecting are going to be like 10-7. I thought this was going to work out for me. It did not. Kamara had a really nice game for him and actually made the difference. If he had played Hopkins, I would have won. If he had stuck with Hopkins, I would have won it. But by making that, what I would consider to be a bold move, which you didn't, you're the best team in the league. The last thing you want to do is make a bold move. But he did, and it worked out for him. I will say the other thing that worked out for him, and this to me is very hard to believe. I couldn't believe this when I looked at his roster. Hurts was his quarterback. I thought, oh man, I'm catching a break. Hurts got injured. He had a good week the week before, but I was going to get him here the second week without Hurts, get with his backup quarterback. His backup quarterback was Joe Burrow. How in the world did a guy get Burrow and Hurts on the same team? And so Burrow comes in, has a really nice game. Like I said, I lost by the equivalent of one touchdown. And if he had, heck, I don't even have a backup quarterback on my team. Well, actually, I do now because I have Watson. If he had Watson as his backup quarterback, I win that matchup. So anyway, I'm a little bitter about fantasy football. Now let's pridefully, I marched forward in the third place game. Got a nice start from CD Lamb last night, and so anyway, back to your question.
Well, actually, you'll appreciate this, or maybe not. So I had a 5-player touchdown, anytime touchdown parlay last week. First half, we get Hawkinson right off the bat. We get Kadarius Toney, who is really going to pump up the odds on this parlay. He cashes. And then we get into the second half. Our players remaining go in this order. Jacoby Myers gets that ridiculous pass back, kind of Hail Mary on a long third down, just a heave up from Mac Jones and I'm not sure the kid's name, but he tips it down to Jacoby Myers, who just trots it into the end zone. So there's one. And then Buffalo, who has a 4th and 1, just needs the first down and they can run the clock out. They do play action fake, hit Dawson Knox in the flat where he runs it into the end zone. That checks 4 out of 5. And here we go down to Carolina. I see 2 roughing the passer penalties on the Goff. So all of a sudden, your Detroit Lions are sitting right there inside the red zone. And there's your boy, DeAndre Swift, the check box number 5, who goes out and runs the wheel route to the sideline, to the corner. It looks like it's going to be a clear heave. Goff is looking his way completely. The Carolina defender just reaches his arm out a hair and kind of just tugs him just enough to slow him up, just enough so he can't completely make that break all the way to the ball, which goes about, a good 12 inches too far. Maybe he could have tried to dive for it or something. If you look at the replay, I don't know if you saw that play, but where you saw it coming, the ball just traveled right out of bounds. X marks the spot, no win. And that cost on that $20 bet was actually paying $9,000 at that point.
Oh my goodness. My Lions. We'll get them this week.
Yeah. Okay. The fantasy football. One last thing on that. Do you like the leagues? A lot of leagues seem to be morphing to like the 2-week system, kind of like the aggregate score over 2 weeks for the championship. Do you like that method?
I do. I think the better team tends to prevail, which is what you want. And also it brings the final week of the season into play. I mean, one of the problems with fantasy over the years is that if you had your championship game in what was then week 17, and you have a third of the teams not trying, and the weather's terrible, and it's a one day thing, it's like, oh man, I fight all year long to get to this point. I get to the championship game, and I can't, it's like, oh, the Eagles are sitting Hurts and Brown, the guys who have gotten me here. I can't even play them in the championship game. So they had to do something about that. But at the same time, I always felt, they said, well, just schedule it in week 16. Well, okay, fine, but then what do you do week 17? I mean, I play fantasy football because it gives me an interest every week. And then just sit out week 17? No, you got to involve week 17 somehow. And the way they, some of these leagues have it now, including the one that I'm in, that combines, week 17 and 18 into a 2-week matchup. I think that's fair. That you get a chance at week 17. I mean, who's not playing this week? I mean, pretty much everybody who's healthy is playing this week. There's no team out there that has everything completely locked up, and is going to be sitting guys as far as I know. And so it makes it a true battle this week. And that gives you a chance, if you're the better team, to take a nice lead, and now goes into next week where it's kind of a grab bag. Well, at least you have a chance the previous week to give yourself a nice lead. And you can't blame it all on the fact that your stars sat out the last game. So I do like that. I do like the 2-week semifinals, and I do like the 2-week finals as well. As I said, my matchup, the last 2 weeks, has been everything I could ask for as a fantasy participant. I got a shot at the big guy, almost knocked him off. And that's the fun of it.
MVP a couple weeks ago, I mean, it seemed pretty clear and obvious. It was Jalen Hurts, and then he goes ahead and sits out the one game from the injury. Minshew comes in and plays, doesn't win, but comes in and has a decent effort. And the odds on the MVP have now completely flip-flopped to Patrick Mahomes being the favorite, which that kind of caught me off guard. And I mean, I guess if Jalen Hurts does kind of miss the rest of the season, I don't know. I mean, it seems to me the Chiefs win, but they're just getting by these other teams, maybe like the Texans and even the Broncos a few weeks ago. I don't know. That was kind of shocking to me that now Mahomes is the favorite. I mean, is it justified?
No, I don't think it is. I mean, it really shouldn't turn out that way. And I think that's just a classic example of public opinion swinging a line where, the people who really know what's going on in football realize that. I mean, when all said and done, Philadelphia is going to have been the dominant, unless they lose their next 2 games.
Yes. Yeah.
Philadelphia is going to be, the dominant team in the regular season this year.
I mean, I think the case is even strong enough that they decided to pack it in the rest of the year. I mean, too, I mean. Yeah,
right. And if that were the case, I think people would look at it differently. I think they would look at it, okay, this guy's done his work. He was so good that they put themselves in a position where they could take the last 3 weeks off and still be the best team in the NFC. That how can you vote against a guy like that? But because he got injured for some reason, it's counting against them. And I don't, like I said, I don't get it. I think in the end, Philadelphia will be the top team in the NFC. Hurts is going to be the guy that got them there. Going to be clearly the MVP of the NFC. And then you look at the AFC, where these 3 teams are battling it out at the top, all have a standout quarterback. I think it's very hard to separate those 3 guys. it's hard to separate those three teams. And so many times we see, well, the MVP is the best player from the best team. And I just can't imagine picking one of those three guys over the other when they're going to be separated probably by one game or maybe even tied in the end. I think Hurts should still be the favorite, and I think that I don't think there's any doubt that he's going to win.
Okay, all right. That's kind of what my thinking is. So there's a good price out there right now if you want to bet him to win the MVP. And I'm going to take it one step further. Let's play that slanted media bias that you just talked about. What if someone came along, what if the Vikings won out, Justin Jefferson maybe finally finds the end zone? I think that's the only thing that's kind of lacking for him. Maybe gets 5 touchdowns. Could you see any kind of media slant towards him if Jalen Hurts were to sit out the rest of the way and
Yes.
Jefferson gets a
I
strong?
think that makes more sense than the AFC guys. I think that Minnesota, has been the surprise team this year.
How many wins would they have without Jefferson? They'd have 2.
Absolutely. And I mean, all of a sudden Kirk Cousins, who's been like a laughing stock for the better part of the last 10 years, now all of a sudden, he's become a legitimate starter. I mean, I saw a debate on TV the other day about who would you rather have in the playoffs, Prescott or Cousins, and it's like, wow, are we really just, has Cousins really reached that level? Well, he has, and it's not necessarily because he's gotten better with age, but just because, they've surrounded him with arguably the best skill position players, in the league. And number one on that list is Jefferson. I mean, he makes everything go. It's kind of like Cooper Kupp was last year to the Rams. You've got to have 2 guys guarding him at all times, and that just makes Minnesota a better running team. It allows them. You mentioned Hawkinson. It killed me in fantasy last week. It gives him one-on-one coverage, and it makes him a better receiver. Thielen as well, Osborne, so they've got the tools there to make to take advantage of the fact that Jefferson is so good that other teams have to try to take him out of the game, and even when they try to take him out of the game, you can't do it. So I agree. I think he should be number 2 in the voting. They could very well even lose one of their last 2 games, even both of their last 2 games, which of course will hurt him a little bit. But I still rate him as number 2.
Okay. Overall, teams will have to have it this week. You might see some teams maybe pulling out some extra, going for an extra down. Moral of the story is this: you might see some kind of weird circumstances, maybe a lot like in a lot of these bowl games. You've seen a lot of teams go for it here on 4th and 3, 4th and 4, nothing to lose. Maybe the same attitude here in the NFL. We're going to have nicer weather. We went from under a block of ice out here on the East Coast and all throughout the country. But when Virginia Beach gets under ice here for a couple of days, then it's really, really cold. But much nicer. It's 60s, warmer temperatures all around the region. There are a lot of lower over-unders. Like I said, a lot of teams will have to have it. Could you, on a general basis, maybe seeing more points scored than we're usually expecting with a lot of these teams kind of having to leave it all out there?
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. What's funny is I was looking at the projected weather for this weekend, and like you said, every game I looked at, wow, this 60 degrees, winds, 55 degrees, low wind. Basically every site that last week was 20 degrees, this week was in the 50s or 60s. I think the worst projected weather was in Seattle. I mean, and it's not even that bad. I mean, obviously Seattle, you're not going to get 30 degrees, but it's the one area where they definitely think that it's going to rain. but even then the weather wasn't that bad. So yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I think that people, will think, oh man, it's the last weekend in December. It's got to be cold. Oh, look, I watched that Cleveland game last week. Oh, it's going to be like that all throughout the Northeast and Midwest this week. Well, it isn't, and the NFL, for those of you who haven't been watching, it's turned into a high-scoring game when the situation has allowed, and that's what I see coming this week as well. There's no reason for the game. I mean, the games are a little tighter because they mean a little more. But you know what? For some of these teams, the games have meant a lot for 5 or 6 weeks. I mean, look at the 49ers, for example. Back when they were 3-4, you don't think their week 8 game meant a whole lot to them. Their week 9, I mean, they've been talking all along, man, we're not going to make the playoffs. We need this one. We need this one. We need this one. And so that hasn't prevented them, from playing their best and scoring their points. And I don't know. I just don't think. I don't think you're going to see coaches turn conservative this weekend simply because they got a playoff berth on the line. And like I said, they had that playoff berth on the line last week in worse weather, and they still tried. They had no choice but to pass the ball. It's a passing game, and I think that if the totals have moved down this week, then that's a mistake.
Okay, let's go down the list. We'll start. We got a lot of fun games. We'll stick to our usual suspects. We'll hit some other ones as well. This is basically the NFC South at stake. Carolina is at Tampa Bay. The Bucks -3. Here's a lower over/under 40.5. Now the Panthers, they have a couple defensive backs out, missing another key player. They're in the front 7 on defense. Buccaneers might get a lineman back. We haven't seen them click all year. In the effort in Arizona was completely disgusting. That's another bad beat story. I had our boy Rashad White there at the running back to get 90+ yards on Christmas night, and he first 2 carries on the first drive, he has 24 yards rushing. You're like, okay, here we go. We're going to get a nice effort here. And then Fournette just seems to get 90% of the running back load after that for whatever reason. But he was productive. But anyway, the Buccaneers, I don't know, over under 40.5. This could be one of those, just like we talked about. You can see a lot more points at stake at this game, Tampa Bay and Carolina. What are your thoughts here?
Yeah, I mean, I can't believe how bad Tampa Bay has become. I mean, You're right. That game in Arizona was embarrassing. And you're right. Fournette, they favor Fournette, but they also baby him. Whenever they get the opportunity to take him out, they don't want him to get hurt. They get a lead, and then White gets all the carries. I think that's what we talked about last week. And they're going to be ahead 17-3 at halftime. We're never going to see Fournette again. Unfortunately, it didn't get to that point because Tampa Bay has just been so terrible.
Right. Yeah.
But yet you look at a game like this, it's like they kind of beat Carolina, don't they? I mean, what I see here in this game is 2 teams that like to run the ball, but I don't think you're going to be able to run the ball effectively against 2 pretty good defensive fronts. And so I think you're going to end up seeing more passing this game than you would expect. I think that Carolina's in better hands throwing the ball. In recent weeks, I think that's no coincidence that they're starting to play better because of that. In part, I think that Tampa, say what you want about Brady, probably should retire. He still can get the job done when he needs to get the job done. I think that, everything says this is not Tampa's year. They could lose a game like this. I'm going to have to see that to believe it. I think there's going to be more points scored in this game, like you said, than people realize, because both teams are going to have to throw the ball more. I wouldn't be tempted to do anything with their running backs in this game, but I take a shot with some of the receiver props or even the quarterback props in this game because decent weather. Some, obviously Tampa's got a lot of good receivers, and this is the kind of game Tom Brady wins. So I think Tampa is going to find a way to win this game. And like I said, I don't see 17-14. I see more like 27-24.
Okay. In Philadelphia, over under is 42.5. They're minus 6.5. There is talk of Hurts maybe playing quarterback, but who knows? Until kickoff time here. But the Saints, they might be playing with a little bit of mojo themselves. They come in here, they're catching 6.5, lower over under here, 42.5. I got to figure Philadelphia is going to get their own. Maybe the Saints can hang in there with them. And if that's going to be the case, then this is another game that could have some points. What's your take on that one?
Yeah, I would agree with that as well. I think that I think Philadelphia's. First of all, I'd be shocked at first place at this game. I mean, there's really no reason to play them. I think they can win this game.
Dallas kind of sniffing on their just behind. Yeah, they're in the distance, but they're still in sight.
Right, and it's more. It's not worth risking your MVP quarterback in a game that you're probably going to win anyway. As we saw last week, the backup quarterback, Minshew, is a better than average backup quarterback. He can go in there with the weapons they have there and get things done. That was a very high scoring game, obviously, last week against Dallas. I think Phillies, will find a way to score their points. This is going to be one of those games where, again, public perception is often the best thing to bet against. And what's going to happen in this game is people are waiting and waiting. Ooh, is Hurts going to play? Is Hurts going to play? Hurts going to play? And when they announce Sunday morning that he's not playing, then you're going to see, the line on Philadelphia moves down and the total on the game moves way down. And that's just not justified. And so, if that's where you're going with this game, which is where I'd be going, you've got to wait till the last minute. And let that total come down a point and a half. Let the Philly line come down a half a point or a full point when they make that announcement, and you'll get a lot better bang for your buck there. I think that Philly, I jump on Philly over props, as many as they'd offer in this game because I don't see them not scoring 30 points in this game.
Okay. I'm trying to figure out how I don't want to spend a lot of time on this game, but how are they giving the Cardinals and Falcons credit enough to get to 42.5 points? That just kind of smells to me. I guess Atlanta has a lot of motivation here. I mean, maybe this game could fly over 2 somehow. No, this is just a weird line, right?
You're right. I don't want to spend a whole lot of time talking about this game. Atlanta has been, surprisingly competitive, but without a whole lot of firepower.
Yeah.
I think this is a game that could be similar to Arizona's game last week, that without much of an offense, they can still find a way because, defensively to hang in there against a team that really can't do that much against you. In the end, I would expect them to win this game. But this could be one of those games where, you're talking about bad beats. This could be one of those games where you've taken the under, the 59.5 minutes into the game is under, and then Arizona throws down 14 points. Arizona, instead of running the clock out, throws a stupid pass that goes to a Falcon. He runs it back. Next thing you know, the game goes over. And those who took over think they're a genius when they really should have lost. And when that's going to be what determines win or loss in a game like this, I want to go on.
Right. All right. Fun over-under game with your Lions hosting the Bears. Man, that's a lot of points for your Lions to lay 6 at home. Over-under this is high. This is not a low over-under. 52.5 in Chicago last time. It was a fantasy fest, a lot of fun game to watch. Here's the worry in this game too. I mean, at some point, even if the game's kind of just out of reach a little bit, does Justin Fields maybe find the bench somehow just to preserve the future there? You don't know this time of the year, and the coach is thinking. But what do you see here in Detroit with your Lions and the Bears?
Well, I don't see any reason why it would be any different than the first time around. I think that, Detroit, as we witnessed last week, Detroit's just not a good defensive team. And the last 2 weeks, my only hesitation with Detroit was the fact that they were outdoors in bad weather or at least cold sites 2 weeks in a row against, what you would call defensive-minded teams and the Jets and the Panthers. And they didn't, last week they ended up scoring. They were having a pretty decent game offensively, but only because they fell so far behind. I think that this week, I think that Chicago has the ability to match points with them in this week. And when that's the case, Detroit becomes more of a passing team. Williams got injured early in that game last week. I'm not even sure what his status is for this game, but the less he plays, the more they become a passing team because they'll end up throwing more to their backs as well. Goff is a very underrated quarterback. I've been saying this for quite a bit this year. He's a very good quarterback, and they've surrounded him now with a lot of weapons, and they don't even have Jameson Williams up to speed yet. Imagine if they hadn't given Hawkinson away. I think that Fields, once again, should have one of his better games. He's got to be. If we're talking fantasy, he's one of the quarterbacks who I would not want to be going up against.
Right.
I think he's a green light, rushing total, green light touchdowns, rushing, green light all the way around guy this week. But at the same time, I just don't, in the end, I don't see them being able to keep up with Detroit. And so, I think that, Detroit has more weapons overall, which makes it hard to kind of single one guy out. But I'll tell you what, people are down on Swift, but this is a big game, and if Williams is playing or Williams isn't 100%, you're going to see Swift get back into that feature back role where he's catching a lot of passes. He'd be a guy that I'd be looking at. I think this is I've been, talking all year about the firepower of Detroit, and against a bad Chicago defense, this is one of their best spots.
Maybe if I go down with the ship, it'll be with DeAndre Swift.
Yeah,
Consecutive. Well, that's what always seems to happen is, if I'm feeling something about a player, I don't like to hop off them after one bad. I want to give them a chance if the opportunity kind of seems like it. Usually, I think that does catch off when you kind of get into that mode. So we'll see with Swift.
It's right, and that's kind of human nature. Is that you didn't lose last week because you had the wrong guy in there. You lost last week because you were unlucky.
Right.
And because you believe that, you're going to show the world that, I'm doubling down on this. How much I was right last week. I'm doubling down on this guy this week.
Right.
And, sometimes it's a good thing. Sometimes that's not a good thing.
Right.
But like I said, we've seen Swift not have a great season this year, coming off an injury, with the development of more weapons, and even they've got a couple different running backs that they've used along with him. But it's one of those things where, like I said, if there's one less guy in the running back mix this week, that gets him back to a more featured role. And then once he's in that featured role, he's demonstrated he can be a very high high-powered offensive force.
Okay. Fun game at Lambeau, Minnesota. We talked some about them already. Green Bay, they've gotten the hot. We've kind of been waiting for that all season. I don't think we've ever given up hope on the Packers. At least I haven't in my mind. But here they are, the nice win in Miami last week. And what that was just a Christmas bad beat too, because everything was flying over fantasy-wise. It looked like it was going to be a great Christmas day, and then it just turned into a complete dud in the second half. But the Packers -3 over under 48.5. Here we go with the Vikings again. Man, this is an interesting game, fun game. I could see a lot of points here, actually. What do you think about that?
Well, okay, so
go back to the will again with the Packers.
No, I was going to talk about the game last week you mentioned.
Right.
The first quarter, about the first 4 possessions of that game, the Miami Green Bay game. Like you said, I don't know what the score was, but it was like 14-10. It was like one team had already scored a couple touchdowns, the other had a touchdown, a field goal. It's like this game's going to be 50-49. And then Miami, I don't know if it's because Tua had was dizzy or what. Their offense completely went in the tank in that game. That was very disappointing. I blame that more on Miami than I do on Green Bay. But so here's my fantasy team right now. Remember, I lose by the equivalent of 1 touchdown. If you were watching that game, you saw Watson, catch that ball in the flat.
Yep.
Rodgers throws the ball to the flat to Watson. He's going in the end zone. He basically trips and falls down at the 1-yard line. Then he hurts his hip and he sits out the second half of the game after having a big first half. But that's not even the part that pisses me off, right? The difference in my matchup, in me winning or losing last week, again, if you remember the game, is at the 4-yard line. Rodgers hands the ball off to Dillon. Dillon's got a cutback hole that's wider than the Mississippi, and he drops the handoff.
Right.
And it bounces back up to me, picks it up, and he still, rushes forward. He gets 2 yards. If he holds that ball and takes it into the end zone, I win my matchup.
Oh, wow.
So I had both those Green Bay guys won what I expected to be a huge high-scoring game. I mean, Dillon still had a decent game, and Watson didn't have a terrible game because he had a good first half, but then sat out the second half. But anyway, that in a nutshell was where my season was lost. I agree with what you said. Green Bay is firing on all cylinders. Rodgers keeps talking about, what is it now? His broken thumb is now he's got a third injury. But yet he always seems to show up and he always seems to do fine. I hope that Watson's coming back this week. I'm not 100% sure on that. He's kind of a key player for them, especially in this kind of game where you need all hands on deck. This is going to be a high-scoring game. Green Bay, Rodgers spreads the ball around. It's hard to. I would think that because Rodgers tends to be one of these guys where you make him look bad, he's going to hold it against you. And I think Dillon, he was very upset with Dillon dropping that ball at the goal line last week. It just seemed that, I think Aaron Jones is going to get a lot more action this week, in part because of that. I think he's probably going to be Green Bay's. When he's a little like Swift, although probably even better in terms of catching the ball. I think he has the potential to have a big game against, a bad defensive team. And then, then here we go again. Then you got Minnesota. Can Minnesota match points with Green Bay? Well, certainly they can. Minnesota can match points with anybody. The problem is, can Minnesota ever stop anybody?
Right.
And so a
charged up Lambeau Field behind the offense should be able to move the ball against Minnesota.
Yeah, if this game were played at Minnesota or at Detroit, some dome stadium, looking at, wow, first team to 30 wins this game. You can't put a total high enough on it. And because the game's at Green Bay, there's the fear of bad weather, but it doesn't look like it's going to be a problem. I think that this should be the highest. Well, Detroit-Chicago might be a higher scoring game, but this is going to be right up there with Detroit-Chicago for the high scoring game of the week. Aaron Jones is going to be my my tip for this week. Look for him, especially as a pass catcher. But all the way around, I don't know if you can get combined yards. Definitely get him for a score. I think that there are many ways you can go in this game, but that would be the number one that I would go with.
All right, a lot of fun games on the slate. Let's fast forward all the way to Monday night. Buffalo and Cincinnati, 49.5 is the over-under here. Buffalo is the road favorite, -1.5. Maybe I have two different kind of theories I'm playing out in my head. So let's see how we can figure this out here. One of them is that this is the old school heavyweight championship fight. They're going to kind of feel each other out, and the over/under kind of lands right there, right at the number 49.5. And then there's my other school of thought where the Bengals just kind of play with this confidence and the swagger about them. They might be out there to try to make somewhat of a statement themselves, and that might force Buffalo into a higher scoring game than what they're actually used to. You think of Buffalo as a high scoring game when in fact they're one of the more lower scoring teams in the NFL, which is kind of crazy, at least for their games anyway, going under the total. What do you think here? You think this can get enough gas in the tank here to fire on all cylinders, and it's full green light Bengals? Here we go. Get ready, Joe Burrow. Going to be a fun ride, or more of a let's just kind of slug it out and see how it goes, and we'll see each other again in the playoffs.
Well, I think you hit on it there, that one of these teams is having a good season. One of these teams isn't. And Cincinnati has quietly, perhaps become the best team in the AFC. I mean, they have really got it going, this isn't a spot where you would expect a ton of points because, like you said, Buffalo's a good defensive team. But at the same time, I don't see Buffalo pouring big points up against Cincinnati. I think Cincinnati, by what I've seen, especially in recent weeks, I would expect Cincinnati to win this game. I'd be fearful of, we haven't talked, much about the weather this week. We expect good weather, but even, a night game, 8 o'clock or 8:30 start, for a night game in January, that can't be good. And then at the same time, you have two teams that win or lose, they're moving on. So this isn't like a playoff game where, guys, we've got to go all out. The quarterback's not going to risk his health diving for a first down in this game when you live to fight another battle, live to fight another day. I think that I can't imagine a real high-scoring game here. Obviously, I can't imagine a real low-scoring game here either. But so that's what makes this game difficult. I can see this being 24-21, 23-20, something in that range. I think you've got two good offenses. I think the potential's there for it to become a kicker's duel. I think that good offense against good defense tends to give you a lot of field goals. That might be an angle in this game where it becomes very frustrating if you took the over in this game. Instead of getting those 5
it's a kicker fiesta. Yeah,
you got 4 field goals. So and you've got
and they missed one already.
Yeah, you got 2 really good kickers in this game as well. So that would be my angle on this game. I think Cincy's going to win this game. I think but I do think it'll be close. And I think that, I take a shot with at least, well, since he's going to win, I take a shot with their kicker, who might be the best kicker in the league. As someone who's going to kick a couple field goals, maybe 3 field goals, get yourself a nice price on 3 field goals. And that's where I would go with this game.
Okay. All right. Let's go all the way back to 1 o'clock. Probably my worst pick of the year. I bailed myself out quick and bet the over in this game. Once I realized Denver was in trouble, which was about 2 minutes into the game, is when I figured, oh no, this is not going well. Maybe I can at least get out with the over here. And Hackett is gone. The Broncos played the Chiefs kind of close the last time out. We kind of hinted on Patrick Mahomes a little bit, and the Chiefs, how they, they're winning games, but they're not really flexing their muscles, at least since that game at San Francisco anyway. I think that's fair to say. But maybe a little bit of house cleaning there, kind of maybe gets the players a little bit more fired up here. That's still a lot of points to catch. I'm not going to go back to the well on the Broncos myself here, I don't think. And I'm not sure what kind of angle, if any, I'll look for in this game. This might just be a pass completely by me. I think I can find better plays on the board. But what do you think? Chiefs minus 12.5, 44.5, hosting Denver.
I think there's going to be a lot more points than that scored. As you mentioned, the first time around, there was a lot more points scored, and Denver didn't score points against anybody at that time of year. To me, the big angle of in this game is whose fault is it that Denver's in this predicament? Was it the coach's fault, or was it Russell Wilson's fault? And I've said all along that I blame the coach. I don't think he's a bad coach necessarily, but he's a bad fit for Wilson. Wilson's one of the best deep ball throwers, probably in NFL.
Right, yeah, yep. We discussed this. Yep, different kind of.
And Hackett is an Aaron Rodgers type, 5 yards, swing it out to the back type of, coach. I think that a new guy will be put in charge of obviously a new guy will be put in charge of the offense this week. It's a chance to make a name for himself. Imagine if, Russell Wilson coming up with a huge game this week, throwing 2 or 3 deep touchdown passes, and all of a sudden, wow, who's in the plays? That guy just got a new contract. And I think that's what you're going to see this week. I think you're going to see Denver, go back to, not go back to, because they haven't done it yet. Denver go to a passing game that's more tailored to Wilson's strengths. I think they have the receiving core to make that happen. Kansas City's defense, which is, better than people think, still is not great. I think Denver is going to put up a lot of points in this game, and by a lot of points, I mean get at least into the 20s. And if they do, this game is sailing over because I don't think Kansas City is going to lose this game. And if Denver's scoring 24, that means Kansas City scoring at least 28. I wouldn't be surprised if it was even higher scoring than that.
Right? Yeah.
And
good angle. I like.
I would look at both quarterbacks in this game as an over, total yards and even total touchdowns. I think this could, Wilson. He had I think he's had 1 or 2 decent games this year, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was all said and done that this becomes his best game of the year.
Well, and I mean, honestly, they can give the Broncos can just hand the Chiefs points at any given moment on offense as well. I mean, really.
That's the thing. It's the funny thing.
And that's what happened last week against the Rams. I mean, the score got out of hand from the turnovers for sure, right?
Well, and that's the thing about Denver is people all season long Denver people talk about, oh, wow, Denver's wasting a great season by their defense. And while it appeared to be true, this happens a lot in sports where when your offense is bad, then your defense tends to be better. And you take a team like Minnesota. If Kirk Cousins were to go out with an injury, all of a sudden their quarterback, becomes some guy that
Whoever it is.
Jared did sit him, or or the guy we saw last night. Then all of a sudden, Minnesota's defense is going to become better because they'll play differently, they'll play more conservatively, they'll chew up the clock, and the defense will be on the field less, and they'll play better. But that just kind of tends to happen, and so we've seen that when Denver's gotten the very few times it's happened. When Denver scored points, all of a sudden their defense gives up points. And I think that's going to be the case here. I think what we're going to see right away, if Denver can come out with their new philosophy and new coordinator, the same coordinator, but new play caller, and a rejuvenated Wilson. He's got a lot of friends on the team. Want to make him look good. You come out, you score on the first possession. All of a sudden, you got a completely different ball game. Denver's defense, shows that it's really not that good. Like I said, I think it's going to be a very high scoring.
Okay, all right. I like that angle. Okay, you just gave me something to add on to the plate there. Let's see here. Trickle down to Seattle. Okay, these two coaches are actually going to be familiar with each other. Saleh and Pete Carroll from their days in the NFC West. Saleh, the former D coordinator of the 49ers, for all you out there who did not know that. So the Jets are at the Seahawks, -1.5 for the Jets. Over under is 42.5 here. You said something about weather out there. I didn't check that part in Seattle, actually. But yes, always a key place to check that. But interesting game here, 42.5. Actually, kind of seems like a low number in this game, to be honest. Yeah. I mean, I can see this flying through the roof too. Go ahead, break it down for us.
I agree. Well, first off, talking about the weather in Seattle, obviously it rains a lot in Seattle compared to other western sites. But rain in Seattle just means it's wet. It doesn't really impact the game that much. People walk the streets of Seattle. It starts to rain. They put up their umbrellas. It doesn't affect them one bit because they see this all the time.
44 and cloudy. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like
2 mile per hour winds.
Right. It's not like, it's raining. That means it's 20 degrees colder. No, it's always going to be around 50 degrees this time of year. So it's a little wet. Big deal. It's not going to be real windy. And I think the key to this game is, for the Jets are a completely different team when he's in there at quarterback. Seattle's not a good defensive team. We've seen that. But Seattle's, been surprisingly good on offense. And the Jets are, just playing poorly enough to, blow a really nice opportunity. I'm not really sure why they're favored in this game. I think that maybe that has to do with this fascination with White as being some kind of great quarterback.
That kind of shocked me too, right? I don't. I mean, again, it's what's the difference if one team's favored by 1.5, the other team's favored by 1.5? But to me, it just kind of sends a message that, do we really think the Jets are the better team in this game? Because I don't. Seattle has had a better season as far as I'm concerned, and especially lately. I just think that I think both quarterbacks have a chance to have a really nice game here. You've got good receivers on both sides. Like I said, you've got decent weather. To me, this just says high scoring game. It literally could be 21-21 at halftime. It really could.
Well, and both quarterbacks have that kind kind of potential. And that's, who would have thought that we'd be saying that about these two guys in a playoff impactful game in week 17 of the season. But here we are. And, they've certainly, both these quarterbacks, you might say that one's been the surprise of the year in the NFC, one's been the surprise of the year in the AFC, even though he hasn't played that much. I don't know, the line just doesn't seem to have adjusted to that.
In Las Vegas, there are going to be a ton of San Francisco 49er fans. That's one. Two, I will consider a fair sample size of Jared Stidham at playing quarterback, watching the Patriots. So I've followed him since he was drafted with great interest. I've seen enough of that sample size to tell me that this is going to be ugly as far as the Raiders are concerned. I question the motivation just a hair, maybe, of the 49ers, just from an injury preservation standpoint. But I don't expect, I don't know, this could be a Devontae Adams, maybe it's his turn to start to cry in the sidelines now that there's no Derek Carr there, because he might not get the ball at all. I don't know. But I think regardless of personnel, the 49ers have a chance to come in here and actually roll the Raiders in this scenario. I don't know. Go ahead and give me your take on that. 41.5 is the over-under here. I would have to assume the 49ers would have to get the bulk of that number, to be honest. But go ahead. You're the Niners expert. Go ahead and give me your thoughts as far as everything I've just said goes.
Well, I think you're spot on many of the things you said. I think that I can't imagine the Raiders showing up this week. Yeah, they're still alive in the playoff race, although by the time they take the field, they might have been eliminated because they need an 11-team parlay to hit in order for them, to stay alive. So, I mean, that to me is an incentive that's just completely out the window. If they really felt they were going to make the playoffs, they wouldn't have made this move at quarterback. This move at quarterback is a white flag saying, all right, look, we're out of it. We need to start treating these last two games like preseason. We want to give everybody a look and get us better prepared for next year. And that's fine if you're playing Denver, another team that's basically in the same situation as you, or you're playing Arizona, or playing the Rams, who will also kind of be treated as a preseason game if you do. But you're talking about a team at the other end of the spectrum here. You're talking about a 49er team that's on a major role that still definitely thinks they can get the number 2 seed, which is important in the NFC. You've got Green Bay playing Minnesota this week. If Green Bay were to win and 49ers were to win, they pass Minnesota. So they have an incentive to show up in this game. We're no worries about the weather here. And I just think that like I said, it's clear the message, what the Raiders have sent to their players is that, these last couple games don't matter.
Right.
Forget the fact that a lot of these guys, especially Adams, really liked Carr. It's clear that Carr is gone. He's not going to come back next year. You wonder if Adams even takes the field.
And he's gone. Like his line, like he is clean. Like he has left the building.
Right.
But, he's not coming back.
I mean, what's the incentive for Adams to take, to play this week? I just think this is going to be a total blowout. I think that just kind of you want a long shot, to hit this week. Here's my long shot of the week, maybe my longest shot of the season. The Raiders' backup quarterback this week becomes Chase Garbers. Chase Garbers was Cal's quarterback last year. He was someone who could have been, they were talking about he might be a 6th or 7th round draft pick.
Okay.
He didn't get drafted and signed with the Raiders as a free agent. He could have been the guy that the 49ers drafted as Mr. Irrelevant.
Right.
And local guy with the perfect pick for that spot. Who we choosing between? Some guy from Iowa State, some guy from Southern Mississippi, and this Cal guy from our our backyard. So it's the last pick of the draft. Let's give the Cal guy a headline. It's not going to make the team anyway. And so this guy joins the Raiders, has a decent enough preseason to make the practice squad. Now he's moved up to number 2 quarterback, and now he's sitting in a position where the 49ers, against a disinterested Raiders team, are going to run right by their offensive lineman and probably kill the quarterback. There's at least a 10% chance that the Raiders starting quarterback is not standing by the end of the game, which is going to get Garbers in there. There's probably a 20% chance that the Raiders are so far behind by the second half of the game that they take him out and they put Garbers in there. I think if Garbers goes into this game, I think, like a preseason game, 49ers 38-3 lead, and here's Chase Garbers 3 minutes to go. He passes them down the field against defense, that's only playing 9 guys because they don't want to get guys hurt, and he throws his first professional touchdown against the 49ers. I think it's the perfect, the perfect story, the perfect ending to a 38-10 game. If you can get
go over the total nonetheless. Yes.
No, not that. If you can get Chase, you can find a line on Chase Garbers to throw a touchdown pass in this game, or maybe even run for a score. He's a good running quarterback as well. Throw a nickel on each one of those two. It may pay for the whole rest of your ticket for the week. That's my long shot of the week. But and getting back to the game, it's got to be all 49ers. And I wish I could give you who's the most likely 49er to score in the second half of a blowout, but they've had injuries at their running back position. I'm not even sure who their backup's going to be this week, whether they're going to get Mason back or whether they're going to go with the guys that they had last week. And so it's, I just think that, they should win this game by at least 3 touchdowns. I think there's a chance they win this game by 4 touchdowns. So if you can get that kind of number, take the 49ers, lay 24.
Yeah. That's going to be out there.
And see where that gets you. But remember, you heard it here first. Chase Garber's first professional touchdown this week.
As of this moment, there is no line on Chase Garber's anytime touchdown this week, nor any other player for that fact. So everybody is off the board. So we'll pay attention to that. But, if you want the 49ers to win by 24 points, you're getting the nice hefty 4-1 odds there. So that might be a layup in terms of that. Trust me, you know what? Anytime touchdown as well, the 49ers defense, you can probably throw that on there at some point.
That's a good idea as well.
Okay, all right. Baker Mayfield was basically left for dead by, there we go, the media public perception again. I don't know what your lifelong thoughts have been, really, Dave, on Baker Mayfield. But here it is. He finds himself an opportunity. He comes into this Rams organization. The season's over with, but they just need some kind of positive momentum. They don't want to end the season like the Broncos, that's for sure, going into next year. So Mayfield has come in. He's done a very nice job, and he's almost channeled his inner Kurt Warner in a way. I don't know if he was there to greet him as he walked into the door or not. The Chargers, maybe they've been partying a little too much this week. Who knows? After they've clinched their playoff spot, we don't necessarily know their motivation. But I got to imagine they're not going to want to take it too light. Justin Herbert's not the kind of guy to kind of sit back and do nothing. In any case, The Chargers are laying 6.5 points here, which is crazy to say. Cam Akers may be your fantasy Super Bowl MVP too at this point of the season. That just tells you how crazy this NFL is. That Cam Akers is your MVP for your fantasy team. But here we go, another low over under 42.5 points. This game is going to be played in neutral field. Both of these fans have trouble traveling. Both of these fans have trouble showing up at home. So who knows what kind of crowd we're going to have for this one. Nonetheless, Rams, Chargers, what do you have?
Well, it just goes to show the importance of finding the right quarterback for the right system. I mean, there's a lot of quarterbacks who have spent their entire career looking for a good spot. I mean, it's kind of shocking to me in the NFL how there's probably, I'd say a dozen teams that are well suited for quarterbacks, and there's probably 18 teams that aren't, that just don't really have a good offensive concept. We're seeing that with the 49ers. The 49ers, you can plug pretty much anybody into their system, and it's going to keep rolling. A, because they've got a lot of skill talent, but B, because they got they got a coach whose system, as we've seen the last 5 years with Jimmy Garoppolo, who is not an average NFL quarterback, has been able to run it successfully. Now you bring in the last pick of the draft, and he's been every bit as good as Garoppolo ever was, maybe even better. I mean, and so we're seeing the same thing now with the Rams. I mean, the Rams are similar to the 49ers. They're a very well-run offensive team. They're a very quarterback-friendly system. I mean, obviously Goff, who was a very young quarterback at the time, took to the system, got the Rams deep into the playoffs. Then they go on to Stafford. Stafford is a good quarterback, but he's really elevated his status, since he went to the Rams. And now here's Mayfield, a guy who hasn't found the right system in his career, but now maybe he has. And now we're starting to see that, wow, we really underestimated this guy. And I'm not really sure that that's true. I'm not sure Baker Mayfield's a great quarterback, but he's just good enough to make this offense go. And this team right now does not have a lot of weapons going for it. You mentioned Akers. When Akers was healthy.
Higbee's a bit of moneymaker. Higbee and Akers.
Well, right, exactly. And that's due to the fact that, they don't have Cup anymore. They don't have Robinson, and not that he had a great season, Allen Robinson anymore. They don't have Henderson to share carries in the backfield anymore. So, I mean, they're down. They have very few options, but they've got an offense that, doesn't necessarily revolve around having huge talent. I mean, say what you want about Cooper Kupp. He probably doesn't have half the total skill set as someone like Jefferson. But, in this offense, he's become Julian Edelman. He's become Godwin. He's become one of these guys that Brady made famous by throwing 2-yard slant ins and letting this little guy catch it and run through the defense. And so I give all the credit here to the Rams. So, offensive coaches, certainly their head coach, who's an offensive nice guy. And this kind of team should be able to move the ball against the Chargers. The Chargers obviously got a lot more weapons. They should be able to counter with points against the Rams as well. And say what you want about them having clinched their playoff spot. The farther you move up the ladder, the better off. I mean, you look at Dallas, who's going to be the top wild card in the NFC. Well, because you're the top wild card, you draw the bad division winner. So, they're going to get a great matchup at the first round of the playoffs, while these other wild card teams, they're going to end up playing, the 49ers, or the Vikings. And the same thing in the AFC. I mean, certainly you don't want to play, someone's going to have a first round bye, but you don't want to play Buffalo or Kansas City or Cincinnati in the first round of the playoffs. You want to be the top wild card and go in and face the winner, face Tennessee or Jacksonville or whoever ends up winning that awful division. So the Chargers do have something still to play for. And I think that I think because the Rams have kind of found a little offense, that's going to force the Chargers to have to put up points. So I think this game is going to be a lot more higher scoring than maybe people realize.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I agree. And let's just kind of go rapid fire real quick, because I think I'm kind of leaning just on everything that we've been saying. More points, the better. But go ahead and give me somewhat of a rapid fire here. I'll give you over under. You just tell me if you think this can be a high scoring game or not. If you want to add your quick bullet point why, that's fine too. Browns and Commanders over under 40.5. I could see points here. Your thought?
I'd say no.
Okay.
I think that you've got two good defensive teams here that are kidding themselves if they believe that they're going to outscore the opponent. You got a nice quarterback change for Washington, which helps them, with terms of maybe protecting the ball a little bit better. Watson hasn't been the answer for Cleveland, so I think, I'd look at low scoring in this game.
Okay. Patriots, Dolphins, 41.5.
Well, this, I'm guessing Tua's going to be out.
Right, Teddy Bridgewater. That's right.
Right. And I think that changes everything. I think that we saw last week when Tua wasn't sharp, that Miami went from this this powerhouse offensive team to, you got to be kidding me. The Carolina Panthers just showed up. And I think that's perfect for New England. I mean, New England, if they keep the score down in this game, they've got a chance. So I would expect this game to be low score.
Giants, Colts, 38.5.
This is an important game for the Giants. A team they really should win. A game where I gotta believe that the Giants will try to grind this one out against the Colts. It's a case where I think this should be a blowout, but not a blowout where you would say, well, that means a lot of points are going to be scored. I mean, I think that this could be a game where the Colts score 10 or fewer points and Giants win this game by 2 or 3 touchdowns.
All right, Dave, that's a lot of fun, man. A lot of great insight. Good luck on anything if you have it going on. I know fantasy's over, so I don't know what you do for gambling for fun.
What do you mean fantasy's over? I'm in the 3rd place.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah. You still have that going on.
A lot of pride.
Okay.
A lot of pride. I got a 21-0 lead after last night's game, and I'm loading up with Lions. Got 3 Lions going. So
if you're gonna go down with the ship, baby. That's how it is.
And what I really should do is put, now that I think about it, maybe I should put Chase Garbers in there at quarterback and shock my opponent. Or maybe I'll save him. Maybe I'll save him for next week.
All right, Dave, a lot of fun, man. We will talk next week, last week of the NFL regular season next week. All right, man, have a good one. Enjoy the weekend.
Okay.
We'll be back right after this.
This is the Deep End Broadcasting Network.
Hey, does your home have algae or stains on the siding? Is there grime built up on your deck or brick patio? Coastal Pressure Washing Services has a warranty of professional services. From pressure washing to window cleaning to deck and fence staining, as well as dryer vent cleaning, you got it all. Call Coastal Pressure Washing at area code 757-439-9810 or visit our website at coastalpressurewashing.net. Again, call Coastal Pressure Washing at area code 757-439-9810 or visit our website at coastalpressurewashing.net.
Dependable Solutions can provide all voiceover services for your advanced audio production needs. Think of us as an inexpensive option, no matter what the size of the project is. From one-word cameos to full script productions, contact Dependable Solutions at 757-354-5517. Do you want to advertise with Deep End Broadcasting? Send us an email at deepend757@yahoo.com. That's deepend757@yahoo.com.
This is the Deep End Broadcasting Network.
It is estimated that 23% of car accidents each year involve a cell phone. That's 1.3 million accidents a year. Reaching for your phone, you are 4 times more likely to crash. Dialing on your phone, 2.8 times more likely to crash. And texting on your phone, you are 23 times more likely to crash. Attentive drivers are safe drivers. Dependable Solutions can provide all voiceover services for your advanced audio production needs. Think of us as an inexpensive option, no matter what the size of the project is. From one-word cameos to full script productions, contact Dependable Solutions at 757-354-5517.
Know your gambling limits. Don't ever bet what you can't cover. Wagering on sports is only fun when you do it the right way. Not every bet will win. When you get on a bad run, know it and avoid trouble. Know your gambling limits.
This is the Deep End Broadcasting Network.
Family owned and operated, CP Shuckers Cafe and Raw Bar specializes in delicious cuisine, refreshing drinks, and a laid-back atmosphere. We opened our doors in 1995 and have enjoyed being a place to either relax or celebrate ever since. Whether you are in the mood to indulge in a great meal with your friends and family or watch the game, we promise that our inventive venue, attentive service, and skilled bartenders will have you truly
I'll be down for that.
Our locations have spacious outdoor patios for enjoying the breeze and catching a little sun. Our friendly staff at CP Shuckers will make your next dining experience a pleasant one by delivering personal care. We are open until 2 a.m. Full menu will be served until 10 p.m. and late night limited menu until 1 a.m. For larger parties, please give the location of choice a call. Pacific Avenue, 757-425-8676 or Shore Drive, 757-412-2929. More information at cpshuckers.com. Thank you for your continued support and have a shucking good time.
All right, it's 12:50 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, special holiday edition of the Round Robin here on the Deep End Broadcasting Network. If you're used to us at our normal time Sunday morning, just click the replay and you can hear everything all over again. If you're just passing by like a ship in the sea right now as you listen to us. Again, we're from Virginia Beach, Virginia, the beautiful shores here on the eastern seaboard of the United States of America. So Dave Grande was great. We went to a lot with him. So rewind if you missed that part. Nephew Dave is in with me now. I think at this point, your survivor pools are over with. If you're looking for us to give you survivor picks at this point in the season, don't even worry about it because you've gotten this far without us. Maybe you've gotten this far with us. I don't know. I know my survivors didn't last very long this season at all. So case in point, no need to really talk about that too much. Let's see what else. Now is the time, people. Let's apply our good defenses that we've discussed all year to crappy teams. There's going to be some circumstances like that this weekend on the NFL slate. So now is the time, without hesitation, to go ahead and slam the door shut on some of these proverbial stink bags. And, all it takes is a blowout clunker, and we're going to cash big maybe in a circumstance or two. All right, so that's the point of the show. If you're new to tuning in, we will go through all the games, game by game, break them down. We'll look for score prop angles. We'll look to move the lines some. We're going to look to invest the minimum to make the maximum profit. We're going to maybe put down $25, $30, and hopefully we can turn that into a few $1,000s for you. If you can find some plays that are going to juice it up enough for you to make that happen. And you know what? Take that $20 to the 7-Eleven. Good luck winning any lottery with that. You're going to get a better chance to do so if you can apply our football knowledge to be gained this afternoon live. Nephew David, how's it going, dude?
Doing well. We are getting right down to it, Steve, aren't we? 2 weeks
Week
left.
17. Can you believe that? We've went from cameras on buckets week 1 to full-on broadcasts. Week 17. You know what? We're missing
Look at us go, Steve.
Well, we're missing some graphics here. The producer has been a little slack. The producer being me. Man, December has been such a crazy month for sure. Getting down and creating PDFs for a couple of hours haven't been the best. I need to get better at the graphics. So we'll fly. If you don't know what's going on at this point, then I don't know what to tell you. There's still a lot of teams in it. The list is growing shortly of teams eliminated from it. And when we say it, we mean the tournament of all these teams. They add more and more every year. I'm starting to lose track. So what do we get? We get 7 seeds now. So 14 teams make the playoffs of the 32. So not quite half, but close to it. So, as the regular season ends here, we'll look to take advantage of good playoff teams wanting to go on the roll, teams who have shut it down already. And we'll use that momentum into the playoffs with whatever matchups come to be. So that will be the plan going forward. Dave, I just don't see any reason why we just don't go right down the list. We'll get to your Commanders talk here. Actually, we'll just start with that game. Commanders and the Browns. It's a 1:00 kickoff. Means a lot for the Commanders. Means nothing for the Browns. The Commanders right there in the playoff. In the playoffs, if they were to start
7 seed.
Yep, this weekend, so they would be in there. Now Heineke goes to the bench. Here comes Carson Wentz. A big question mark, I guess. I'm going to leave it to you to provide optimism in your Commander Nation on why you guys can succeed going forward and at least get into the playoffs and play feisty, or why this ship is going to sink fast, one or the other. So go ahead and tell me which boat you're going to jump on, and let it rip to your Commander fans out here what's going to happen here.
Well, Steve, I really think it's going to come down to the Dallas game, the last game of the year. Now, I'm not overlooking this game at all. I mean, you got to get it done against the Browns first. It's at home. I feel like they'll get it done. It's kind of a must-have, like I've been saying for the last week or two. The thing that worries me is they've had every opportunity to put a little distance in there and be a little bit more comfortable. And as usual, if you watch football, sometimes this is one of the toughest points, Steve, about being a Redskins, Commanders, whatever you call them fan is, just a couple weeks ago, they're in a really good spot, controlled their own destiny, and they still do. But you would have liked to see them win a couple of those and just be, a little bit more comfortable where maybe this would be a clinching week. Now it still could be, but it's asking for a lot, and I'll get to that in just a second. I feel like the defense gets it done for us against the Browns. The offense has really kind of sputtered lately, and I'm not sure about the QB move. I do understand it. I like Heineke, but his ball control, he's not afraid to let it rip, but he does throw picks. And I believe, Steve, in the last, I know it's at least 2, but maybe even 3, he's lost a fumble back there in the pocket. And you just can't have that this time of year. If you want to, make the playoffs, you cannot have those kinds of mistakes. And I think that maybe that's where Wentz being a vet QB in this league, well, not even really a vet, but he's got more experience. And I think that's why they make that move there. So I don't know, Steve. I would I believe I heard you with Del Grande saying you could see a lot of points here. I think I'd be inclined to take an underplay here.
Right.
You know how we like to go back and forth on that.
Right.
So we'll see, Steve. They got to get it done here. And if they do, then it all comes down to that Dallas game, and it's really going to depend on, it's a divisional game. You never know what could happen in those games. I'm not saying that Washington can't win because it is at home again. The last 2 are at home. So, but that's just going to be tough. Is Dallas going to be playing for anything? Are they still going to be playing for the 1 seed, or are they just going to kind of rest the usual suspects, and can Washington take advantage of that? So again, not to overlook this Browns game, because that will really determine what we'll be looking for in that Dallas game. So we'll see, Steve. I think the defense gets it done, like I said, and I'll explain that clinching scenario real quick, and then we will move on to the slate. The only way Washington gets him this Sunday will be as if they beat the Browns, and then the Jets beat the Seahawks. That could happen. The Vikings beat the Packers. That should happen, but the Packers are on a roll. Can they keep that up against Minnesota? I will say I thought Minnesota's defense looked a little bit better last week than we've thought it was the last 4 or 5 weeks. But we would need help from Minnesota. And then lastly, where is this game? Oh boy, I can't find it. Oh, Steve, what is it doing to me?
Which game are you looking for again? Sorry, I'm scrolling on the
it's
on your Browns defense, which has given up.
Here we go. We would also need Chicago to go into Detroit and win that game.
Right.
So we would need all 3 of those teams to lose, and then us get a win. I could see maybe 2 of 3, but I don't feel good about the Lions losing to the Bears. So take care of business, and then it'll all come down to week 18. I feel like
all these de facto playoff games are very fascinating for sure. Coming up as we go down here through the slate. As far as this game goes, the Browns do rank 25th in defense. They've given up 341 points on the season. So that's about 22.7 points a game. Carson Wentz, this is maybe his last chance. So what do you do if you're a quarterback and it's your last chance? Do you come out and maybe start to air it out because you have players like Samuel as your third option? You have McLaurin, obviously, and you have Dotson, right? Jahan Dotson.
Right.
You have a decent tight end. You have running backs. The line has been the question mark here. Quarterback feeling the pressure. But Wentz, and this is his opportunity. If he can get the ball out of his hands and get it to the skill people. Here's the other thing, too. It is just going to be nicer temperatures everywhere. It's literally 65 degrees in December. That is not conducive to a low-scoring football game this time of the year. That's not like last week. That's going to be the problem I'm going to see with unders this week. I get the arguments with the defense and how this game could get bogged down, but I would not at 40.5. That is still a low number. It's not going to take if you get any kind of offensive explosion here, it's going to go right over 40.5 points. Is that the best one on the board for all these games? Probably not as I go, but I'm going to look at an alternate over as far at least for a dancing partner in a multi-leg parlay.
Right.
All right. Other than that, let's see. Anytime touchdown scores, nothing's listed as far as props. That's going to be the problem we're going to have today. I'm not so sure. I feel like there's never any 2 touchdown scores on the Commanders, at least not this season. I've had McLaurin for 2 a bunch of times. That hasn't happened yet. But neither is Justin Jefferson all season, if you can believe that.
I got Terry is at plus 145 for 1.
Okay, all right. So you're starting to see some props pop up on your book. Okay, good. So they're finally starting to get on the market. I don't see them on the book I'm looking at. So you might have to fill in some of these numbers as we go, Dave.
All
right. Let's see. Tampa Bay and Carolina. This is I know that you have Carolina probably written all over this game because you can't stand what the Buccaneers have done. I'm going to go to the it's too late to save face for me on the Buccaneers. To be honest, I can't anything. This is one last gasp. Whatever. I feel like, and this line has moved. It's gone from 3 to 3.5 now. So the line is up in this Buccaneers-Panthers game. I could see over under 40.5 too. That's just another warm weather. These teams have to have it. You're going to have to take some chances. A lot like these bowl games where these teams go for it on 4th and 5. You're going to start to see some more of that kind of thing. Maybe that flips the field for the good. Maybe that flips the field for the bad. But just nicer weather, weird type of playoff implications here. Both teams have shown, the Carolina had a lot of offense last week. If they can bring any of that down to Tampa Bay, and Tampa just can find somewhat of a stride at home, again, this is another game that can go over the total. I think here again, we haven't had that one crazy week where everything goes over. Warm temperatures when everyone has to have it. You're not going to be conservative. You got to get into the playoffs. There's no turning back. You're going to take the chances you need to. I just think that's conducive for points to be scored. So Carolina Buccaneers will be an alternate overplay for me. Maybe a small piece of the Buccaneers as well. I could see 30 to 20 all over this game, to be honest. 34 to 21 or something like that. I wouldn't be shocked. You're probably going to tell me why I'm wrong and like the Panthers and the under, and that's fine. I can accept that argument all day. So go ahead, Dave. What do you got?
I actually, Steve, it might sound a little crazy, but I like Carolina either on the money line. That's at plus 155. So again, that would be, paired with something, unless you really feel good about it. Singles. I don't do a lot of singles myself.
You got paid probably 75 to 1 on the Carolina alternate line. Big time last time they played. You got paid big time on an alternate move to Carolina.
So, or Steve, we can look at these scoring props that I always look at. Each team for a touchdown in each half is at plus 275. So I kind of like that for the value. I really don't see why the Buccaneers and the Panthers couldn't at least score 7 points in each half. I don't think that's really asking too much. Panthers defense maybe a little bit stepping up. But, like you said, Steve, I kind of agree with you in the fact that, the Panthers offense stepping it up. And if Tom Brady and the Buccaneers, like you said, catch any kind of stride at home, I don't see any reason why this couldn't go over. And if it's going over, then that prop is probably mixed up into that pretty tight.
Here's the thing, the lesson to be learned here, people. We like to try to move lines to get good profit. If this is going to be an over week and it's going to go super over, then these lines are all low enough to be honest, to where that's going to pay out big. This is your one chance to really get a nice big payout. Now you got to risk that these games are going to go over. But look, if you ever had any aspirations of making $25 into like $8,000, this is the one. This is the time. I mean, you're going to raise this over under 10 points in the Carolina game. And a couple of these other ones we'll go through as we go. And man, that's it. I mean, especially if it's not working out for you in the sense that you're betting straight bets, lower paying odds stuff or whatever. If that stuff's not working for you, why not take a chance and do something a little different? Maybe even stretch things out, and maybe you'll find some luck there. Especially if you haven't been having the kind of luck that you've had, you might be able to switch it up. Just take a chance. Man, if you do get that one really big hit, then you're going to forget about everything that you lost about beforehand. So this is the opportunity there to move these over-unders up a lot, I think, this week. They're low, so if you move them up, you're going to get great payouts. Over-under 40.5 on the alt line. Total points here. Let's just say we get to 53 points. That's not outrageous to think that can happen, but you're plus 430 if you do that. So we'll go ahead and lock this in, and we'll use this as an example as we go along. We'll put over 52.5 points at plus 430 in the Carolina-Tampa game. Green light on all the props, too, as far as your running backs go with the yards, I think. Brady and maybe he gets alternate passing yards this week as well. Carolina missing a couple players on the back end, so that should help out. Maybe he gets a lineman back, too, as well, so a little bit more protection up front. All that could add to some points for Tampa. All right, Philadelphia and the Saints. I'm interested to get your perspective on the Eagles here. We don't know if it's Minshew or Jalen Hurts, so take that into your account. Either way, I think the Eagles can score points against the Saints at home. I think the Saints, with a little bit of mojo, can again come in and score some points. This is a team, again, that has to have it. They have to have a win. There's no turning back. They're going to take chances. They're going to pull out some trick plays, and if they can execute, then they're going to get their share of points as well in this game. So the Eagles, you figure, get theirs somewhere around 28-31, and then you get the Saints to somewhere get into the low 20s. Then there you go, somewhere around over 52.5. Again, it's going to be a great payout. The over-under in the Saints game, 42.5 with the Eagles. The Eagles minus 6.5. Again, weather in Philadelphia should be good. Here, let's get a quick update right now. Every time I look everywhere, it seems like it's been very nice. Very nice. Philadelphia weather for a Sunday is a nice 57 degrees, sunny. Winds projected somewhere around 13 miles an hour. That's not going to make a difference, I don't think, in this game. But here you go. Good chance to take an over. I'm going to try to hop on these before they move today. Hopefully these lines won't move too much since we're on the show, because I can only see these numbers going up. I don't see them going down. And if I want the better payout, we're going to want to jump on these today. But again, Dave, your perspective, Eagles and the Saints, I'll look for points here.
Yeah, and Steve, I don't really think that it matters all that much. Who's at under center for the Eagles? Minshew, he played really well the other game, and I think that he can probably handle a game against the Saints. I know that you said they have a little bit of mojo. I don't think it's quite enough to keep up with the Eagles, though, because they're still, they need to win these 2 games. Obviously, they're already in, but are they going to be the 1 seed, and are they going to win the division? Because if Dallas wins out and Philly somehow happens to lose out, then I believe Dallas would take the division, and then that would probably jumble up the seeding there in the NFC playoffs for sure. So still a game that the Eagles want to win. I mean, they don't, obviously it doesn't make or break anything for them, except for seeding. But, I could see points, Steve. I would probably go to 47.5 at plus 177.
That's a nice number. Eagles and the Saints. Eagles 8th in defense overall. Saints 9th in defense overall. So take that into account too. Maybe what Dave said, don't go too extreme because you still have some decent defenses out there, but you can still look for a good payout to go over. I'll go ahead and just be optimistic that somehow, these teams have decent defenses, but are they the super greatest? No. So they can still give up points at the end of the day. I'll be risky and frisky here. I'll go over 51.5 points at plus 300 just to get to 52 on this one. I'll plug this one in for sure for now.
Yeah.
Well, all right. So moving lines like crazy people for payout later. Stay tuned. Lesson to be learned here as we go through the list. But right now, if you wanted just to take the Carolina Panthers over 52.5 and the Saints over 51.5 at the Eagles, your $10 is paying $200. That's not a bad payout.
No.
Just to win 2 things for $10, Dave. See, that's what I'm talking about.
Right.
Why try to win 4 things when we can just try to win a couple?
Yeah, exactly.
So if you're feeling the pinch of things, try to stick to your maybe just a couple of best plays here and lock and load on those. Cardinals and Falcons. This is a weird line to me. -3 for the Falcons. First of all, maybe the Falcons should be favored by more, to be honest. They're the team with motivation at home. I'm actually going to look maybe move the Falcons on the alt line, to be honest. That's a cheap number, -3. But over-under is 42.5 in this game. That seems suspiciously high to me. Though Grande's take on it was pretty funny, too. They'll probably backdoor it with some terrible Cardinals pick at the end when they're down 14 points. So I think the Falcons may be on the alt line move here since they have motivation. They're laying a short number. McSorley didn't show me anything last week. The Cardinals have pretty much packed it in. Their coach might be next to be fired. The Falcons still with some motivation, I think, to get in the playoffs here, right? The Falcons are eliminated. Nope, they're out of it.
Oh, are they out?
Yep. So they're not on the list. They are officially eliminated at 5-10. Maybe a pass. But Falcons edge at the home, Dave. Do you have any great take on this?
Steve, the only thing that I would really, because you get a game like this means absolutely nothing. What are you going to get out of it, man? You just really can't tell. It's a game I think the Falcons will win, though. And if I'm doing anything, Steve, I would either move the spread a hair or just take it right where it's at. I have it at 3.5 for plus 100. So yeah, with that, it's probably a pass for me too, but being that 3.5, is plus money, I would probably just go ahead and take that. I think they could win by a touchdown or so.
If you have any action,
or even 6 points.
If you have any action on the bowl game, Maryland 10, NC State 3, getting towards the end of the second quarter there, but NC State now with a 3rd and goal at the Maryland 2-yard line. So we'll keep you up to date on the bowl game. And a Friday soccer paycheck to be aired later. I don't know how I'm going to do everything I'm trying to accomplish this afternoon, much less get some soccer graphics ready for the show. But soccer paycheck Friday, 4 o'clock. That can be a hot and heavy game. We'll have 2 EPL games on at the time, 4 championship games. All will be basically in the beginning of the second half when we go onto the air. So we'll be able to, for that whole hour, kind of finish and talk about how these games are going. So that's going to be tough for me to keep up on. I'm going to have to move a TV into the studio is what's going to have to happen here. But if you're a Friday soccer paycheck listener and you went to take some of our best bets last Monday, then you cashed out pretty nicely, people. So it's nice to have that show at least giving out some winners, as well as the hockey. I think we've been pretty spot on for the most part in the hockey. Some of my team total goals not getting there this week. So we'll maybe back off that a little bit. Soccer is starting to pay off now, though, and that is worth the listen to, because once the soccer payouts come out, then you can make up for a lot of losses once these soccer plays go good. All right, Maryland kicks a field goal, 10-6 in the bowl game.
Steve,
NC State kicks a field goal. I'm sorry, not 10-6.
Update on that Commanders game. Antonio Gibson has just been ruled out with a knee injury.
Okay, so load up on your Brian Robinson props, maybe. Brian Robinson, this could be the week for 2 touchdowns for Brian Robinson. All right, so that might be an angle we take a look at now once those payouts come. All right, so another weird game for me, Jacksonville. They don't have motivation on the road at Houston. You think that they would, but they don't. They're going to be playing for the division title next week against Tennessee anyways. So Jacksonville is -4 at Houston, over under 43.5. I got to figure Jacksonville starters will all be in full effect for this game. In fact, they do have anytime touchdown scores up for this one. All the usual suspects are up here. Jaguars have been playing nice. Texans, if you've been betting on the Texans, you've been cleaning the house, especially if you've been betting Texans alternative lines. You've really been winning some money here because the Texans have been covering in emphatic fashion. So they're maybe your best money maker even in December. So if I told you that, 6 weeks ago, that would be the case. You'd tell me I was crazy. I've been a Texans backer for the most part these last couple of years, but not on this current run at all. I've been anti-Texans, so they've actually been hurting me a little bit here down the stretch. All that being said, I like Jacksonville. The Texans have been burning me. I'm not sure of Jacksonville's motivation. So -4 and 43.5 and for this game is going to be, unless you can convince me otherwise, Dave, of something that you really like. I think this is a complete pass for me, to be honest.
Right. Steve, I'm going to go right into the scoring prop here, and I'm going to go back to each team for a touchdown in each half at plus 195. So we put that.
I could see that.
Yeah, I mean, I really don't think that's, again, asking too much. So that's where I would go in this one. Everything else, I think I'm probably leaving alone, just because
I actually kind of like that. So a touchdown for each team in each half.
Yep,
I could see that actually happening.
Yeah.
In this game. All right, nice bet, Dave. Plus 195. I'm gonna have to remember that when it comes time here. As far as anytime touchdowns, I don't know. I'll just roll a few off just so you don't know them. Travis Etienne, he's burned me too many times. -140 for him. Zay Jones, he's been decent for me, plus 220. Brandon Cooks, plus 185. Chris Moore, plus 260. Trevor Lawrence, plus 330. Let's see. Marvin Jones, plus 450. Royce Freeman, plus 180. There you go. There's your anytime scores. Jacksonville Texans, since you're, I'm sure, dying to know at 1:20 in the afternoon on a Friday who's going to score a touchdown in the Jaguars-Texans game. All right, 1 o'clock game in Detroit, Ford Field. Chicago is at Detroit. This has all the makings of another fantasy shootout, only because Detroit's defense is terrible. Justin Fields setting all kinds of Bears records quarterback-wise, though Grande says it's a full green light for the Bears. They have a terrible defense themselves. So the Lions, full green light for the Lions. And if we look at their defensive rankings, here they are. This is all you need to know. The Bears are 30th in defense overall. The Lions are 32nd in defense overall. And fast forward or rewind for the Falcons Cardinals, both of these teams, 26th and the 31st. If that's not a reason maybe to take that over in that Falcons game, there you go. That's right there. Man, look at that. The Vikings 28th in defense too. We'll get to them later. But terrible defenses in this game. This is a fantasy green light game for sure. Again, another over. I don't like moving alternate overs up to 52.5 up too crazy because you just need too many points. But these teams did get into the 60s the last time. Bears -6, 52.5. David?
So I would think, Steve, if you follow along, Justin Fields is having a nice run here. Hitting a lot of rushing yards, it seems. So I would go possibly, Steve, with a Justin Fields alternate rushing yards. For 75 plus, you're getting plus 115. That's not super great, but I think that's absolutely achievable for him against that defense. And if you wanted to be a little bit more risky with it, and he has done this a couple times, I believe, 100 plus rushing yards for Fields would be plus 310. Now, there's a value number that we like to look for. And I don't know.
I got plus 400 on my book.
I don't know, Steve. That's kind of that. It's tempting. I would absolutely say that.
I think I'm going to be on board with Justin Fields props. This is going to be I could see him completely having a great day. Bill Grande loves him too. Plus 225 yards passing for Fields, and he got to this number last time they played as well. So I remember because I was on this the last time, but that's plus 370. If you think that Fields can, I think I can get this approximate for you. So Fields 225 yards passing, and then Fields 100 yards rushing, and if you put, let's see here. Here it is. There's no way that's the case. Okay, if you put $10 on it, $1,000. So that's Fields 400 yards, 225 passing, and Fields 100 yards rushing against the Lions. I'm not going to stretch the over/under. I don't think I'm going to look more to move these over/unders on the lower side up, but I'm going to play the Fields props for sure, and I'm going to definitely do some same game parlay, fun stuff here. I just think there's a lot of fun opportunity in a lot of these games. I don't want to be on the sideline if I can put down $10 and mix some of these things together here. DeAndre Swift, if we want the revenge of DeAndre Swift to happen, if he can get 2 touchdowns, and Williams may be out, we'll have to pay attention to that. Plus 600 for DeAndre Swift for 2 touchdowns. I kind of would like a little bit better price than that. I would like Justin Fields at 2 touchdowns at plus 550. I could even see that happen.
Yeah, that would. Yeah.
To be honest, he loved Cole Kmet, so 13-1 odds for Cole Kmet. Anything else on this one, Dave?
No, Steve. I'm probably going to focus on them Justin Field props for sure.
All right, moving on. Right down the list. Let's see if we can round out the 1:00 games, then we'll take a break. Kansas City and Denver is a 1:00 game. I skipped over New England. We'll come back to them. Kansas City is minus 12.5, over under 44.5. Bill Grande loves a lot of points in this game. He thinks that might be able to get Russell Wilson's best output of the season with a fired coach. Conflict of system and quarterback for sure there, as Hackett is gone now for the Broncos. That's the news of the week. Cleaning the house there in Denver. Russell's stuck there with the big contract. They'll have to figure that out. Here's Mahomes and the Chiefs. They're motivated to move up to get home field advantage throughout. So a win here gets them into first overall if Buffalo can lose in Cincinnati. David, the Broncos were disgusting on Christmas. 12.5 points. Is that too many? 44.5 over under.
Steve, I tell you what. I think this is a Chiefs or nothing, really. I'm going to leave it alone. I don't like really much with this at all. Chiefs or nothing. And I don't really like that spread, even though I think that the Chiefs are certainly capable of blowing them out. I don't know. 12.5. That's kind of up there. It's not unachievable when you think about it, but I don't know. The Broncos do have a decent defense, so I don't know, Steve. I think this will be a pass for me, really.
Kadarius Toney, I might throw him on the anytime touchdown score list again. I might even throw him on the 14-1 for 2 touchdowns. He's back off injury. Mahomes started to look towards him before his injury, and now that he's back, he found him in the end zone last week. So that might be a prop I look at for Tony at plus 1,400 for 2 touchdowns. Let's see here. Other touchdown scorer props. Kelsey's minus 115 for 1. Jerick McKinnon, he's been playing well, plus 160 for him. Latavius Murray, plus 220. He was a complete dud for me last week. Jerry Jeudy, plus 270. I could get on board with that. Jeudy has given a vote of confidence to Russell Wilson. He's actually been a pleasant surprise, too, as far as fantasy numbers go. And Jerry Jeudy at 22 to 1 odds, I'd actually be interested in taking that, to be honest. I'm going to have to ask Bill Grande about that in a text here. But 22 to 1 odds for Jeudy, 2 touchdowns against the Kansas City Chiefs. Other than that, I guess I'll take Bill Grande's advice and look for an over, David.
I mean, I could see it, certainly.
He thinks Denver can get into the 20s, and the Chiefs get into the 30s. So just to get over the alternate total points. In fact, we'll throw this in our parlay as our example here. We have Denver, Kansas City. I'm going to take them to an alternate total points of the regular over-under is 43.5. I won't get too frisky. I'll say over 53.5 points. Actually, they got into the 60s last time. I'll go over 55.5 points at plus 350. Lots of touchdowns. Hopefully, by at least the Chiefs can cover theirs by themselves here.
You'd like to think they probably get most of it anyway.
So we have 3 tickets on the board. We'll use that as our example here in a second. I don't know why they keep putting me back to the NBA lines. They must know me. Let's see here, David. What else? Colts and Giants, weird game for me. This might be a pass completely. Giants minus 5.5, 38.5. I want to lean over just because of the weather. And that, again, crazy teams doing crazy things in need. That would be the Giants in this case. They need to make sure they secure that playoff spot, but maybe that makes them play a little bit more conservative as well in that aspect of things. But this is your team in your division, the Giants. I'll kind of lean on you for this and your thoughts here. But I think the Giants win. I think they probably cover. Do they cover 13.5 points or so? I can't say that, but I can see the Giants winning by 10 points, or at least winning by 6 and covering the spread straight up. David, your thoughts on that one?
Yeah, Steve, that's exactly what I was thinking. I do believe this is a clinching game for them. So if they can beat the Colts, they are in, which I certainly think will happen. I don't really see any reason for it to not. And I was looking at that, Steve. I was either going to take it right at 5.5 and just let it ride, but I want to look here at 9.5. I would probably stay away from that 13.5. You said, do we think that? I'm not sure about that. 10 points, I think, is probably to the top where you want to move this. So let's see what we get out of it. Yeah, plus 155. I don't see any reason not to take a shot on that.
All right. Let's see here. Yeah, and I think that's going to be a pass on me. I could see Saquon Barkley getting 2 touchdowns in this game, to be honest. That might be a prop I'm going to lean with just to have some kind of action on this game. So Barkley to get 2 touchdowns is at a plus 370. So he's actually a pretty decent favorite to actually kind of do that. Again, here are the NBA lines popping up on me. So interesting game there with the Giants and the Colts. I'm not going to get too frisky moving the over-under here. I'm not going to put that on my ticket. I considered this. I kind of like the Patriots at home. Teddy covers. Teddy Bridgewater has been a great cover machine for me over the years, for many, many years. The quarterback for the Dolphins, likely on Sunday as he replaces 2-time concussed Tua Tagovailoa. The Dolphins on the road in New England, the Patriots minus 2.5, 41.5. The The Patriots, I have no faith in their offense. They kind of disgust me, if I can be a spokesmodel for Patriots Nation for just 1 minute. But I've been saying that the one or two times. What else am I going to say except for the same thing that I've said every week now since the start of the season, is that the offense is just better with Zappy than it is with Mac Jones, and that's just the bottom line. So Mac Jones will trot it out there again. I'm going to have to rely on him to, if I want the Patriots on some kind of alt line, plus 340 is to win by 2 touchdowns here, which they can definitely do. But it is going to be warmer temps. The Dolphins do have tremendous speed. So if the cheetah can break free, Bridgewater just needs to be able to get him the ball. But yeah, I could see the Patriots choking this up and not winning this game at all. I'll take the homer side of me and take a stab with the Pats in some sort of alt line scenario. Over under 41.5. I don't know. I could see this kind of going over again. Just for the reasons I said. Miami might not go scoreless. They can still get their 24 points, I think, and the Patriots can probably score that too. I'm going to save this over-under for, let's see, I want to scroll down the menu for my example. I guess it doesn't matter. Not my best play on the board for over-unders. I'm going to find 2 games at 4 o'clock we'll talk about. So I'll put those on my parlay. But I could see points here, and I could see the Patriots winning convincingly, and I can see the Patriots choking it up. One of those 3 scenarios. Dave, your thoughts?
Dolphins by 23.5. That's what I think.
You're just bitter, David, because the Patriots came back to ruin your day with the Bengals last week when you had the Bengals.
That is correct, Steve. So I am riding that sour bench right now, I guess you could say. Yeah, I had that, Steve. With about 6 minutes left, Patriots started coming back, really screwed me out of that one. So this week, I just for personal reasons, I'm going to fade them. Boo. I don't want them. Get them out of here. Dolphins on the money line.
All right. So interesting game up there in Boston. We'll go ahead and take our break. We'll plug in the 4 o'clock games after this. So we have to talk about the game in Seattle, the game in Vegas, the Packer game, the Charger game, the Ravens, and the Bengals. 6 more games. I think we can have us all out of here by 2 o'clock. And that's a good solid 3 hours of action-packed information. All right, we'll take a break. We shall return after this. This is the Round Robin on the Deep End Broadcasting Network.
She's the one I'm thinking of. That's the name of
Endable Solutions can provide all voice-over services for your advanced audio production needs. Think of us as an inexpensive option, no matter what the size of the project is. From one-word cameos to full-script productions, contact Endable Solutions at 757-354-5517.
Know your gambling limits. Don't ever bet what you can't cover. Wagering on sports is only fun when you do it the right way. Not every bet will win. When you get on a bad run, know it and avoid trouble. Know your gambling limits.
You said it was a waste of time. You said that I would change my mind. You said I lose my foolish chance to go and get out. It turns out you don't really know what you've been missing, my friend. And you might have heard now that I got something better.
Family owned and operated, CP Shuckers Cafe and Raw Bar specializes in delicious cuisine, refreshing drinks, and a laid-back atmosphere. We opened our doors in 1995 and have enjoyed being a place to either relax or celebrate ever since. Whether you are in the mood to indulge in a great meal with your friends and family or watch the game, we promise that our inventive menu, attentive service, and skilled bartenders will have you truly satisfied. Both of our locations have spacious outdoor patios for enjoying the breeze and catching a little sun. Our friendly staff at CP Shuckers will make your next dining experience a pleasant one by delivering personal care. We are open until 2 a.m. Full menu will be served until 10 p.m. and late night limited menu until 1 a.m. For larger parties, please give the location of choice a call. Pacific Avenue, 757-425-8676 or Shore Drive, 757-412-2929. More information at cpshuckers.com. Thank you for your continued support and have a shucking good time.
Control your alcohol. Don't fight. Don't drink and drive. Your one punch could kill someone. It happens. You're behind the wheel. You may think you are fine.
Just give me
Then
150.
the other drivers
All right.
under the
There were
influence
200
of
anyway.
texting, and then
Huh?
you
I think there
are
were 200 anyway.
control
I was thinking there
your
were 240.
alcohol.
Oh, yeah.
All right, if you have any questions, text the show 757-354-5517. I bet you this phone's dead. Yep, so don't do that. We won't be on.
No juice. No juice.
Comment on any of our social media. In fact, we do have one comment, David. Actually, we have 2 comments. This person, I'm not sure how you pronounce their name because this is written in hieroglyphics or something. 1970 in football, the yellow and red card law started also because of Pele, because they would always break it before it wasn't, whatever that means. A sad day for the world of football. Best players in the world. Pele passed away. He had won 3 World Cups with Brazil. All right, thank you for chiming in, wherever you're listening to us. Dave, yes, literally, it's a backwards L, an I, a reverse 7, a backwards apostrophe, a backwards X, lowercase n, a slanted W. That'd be his first name or his last name. I don't know, or she. But thank you for listening. Okay, let's get to. Let's see. Bon Scott did check in with his fantasy. Let's go ahead. I'll ask you that real quick, Dave.
What you got?
So, fantasy championship. He was asking about quarterbacks. Would you play Teddy Bridgewater or Baker Mayfield?
Ooh. Let's see here. We got Bridgewater is playing the Patriots, right?
Yep.
All right, so not crazy about that matchup for him against that defense. And then where do we got the? Oh,
Mayfield's
man.
at the charge. Home. It's.
That's a tough one, Steve. I think
I would take Mayfield.
I think so too, just because of the defensive matchup. That's kind of how I was leaning with. Not that Teddy isn't, capable. Just the defensive matchup for me, Steve. That makes me think Mayfield.
Okay. Back to our games. Let's see here. Let's see here. 4:00 window. Seattle and the Jets. Jets are -1.5 at the Seahawks. I'm not sure I understand why. Over-under is 42.5. Jets are a decent defense, but this is a weird spot for them. Weather should be fair, like we talked about with Del Grande, mid-40s, so no big deal here. Both offenses here capable of scoring with quarterback Mike White, and Geno Smith revenge game. How about that? Pete Carroll revenge game.
Yep.
As he was a former New York Jet coach. Geno Smith, the former New York Jet quarterback. So motivation just personally for Geno here. But Seattle playing for a playoff spot as well. They're very well motivated. The Jets are too. They're very well motivated playing for a playoff spot. Here you go. Low over under 42.5. I'm going to look for an alternate over in this game because, again, teams are going to have to lay it all out there. expect craziness to happen. And if we're going to move some of these lower over-under games up, I don't see why not deal with this one as well. We'll take a shot all the way up to 53.5 over at plus 390 because we want a big, juicy payout at the end of the day of this parlay. And if we're going to go super over, this is our one chance to do so. So we will do that here. Plus 390 over 53.5 points. And there you go. It's game on for all the props. Alternate passing yards for both of these quarterbacks. I think they don't have any of the props. At least they just have the touchdown scorers here for me. That's all we're looking at for this game. But if there are any 2 touchdown scorers for this, yeah, Kenneth Walker at plus 500. Why not? DK Metcalf maybe today plus 850. I could see that happening. He's due for a 2 touchdown game, I would say. There's Lockett at plus 850. I want to maybe trust a Jet so much to get 2 touchdowns. Xavier Knight, though, is paying pretty well at plus 700. I don't know, Dave. I see it over. What about you?
Yeah, Steve, I do too. So with this, there's a lot of probably different player props that you could go into. I myself, I'm going to go back here to what I've been on, I guess, here lately. And I'm just going to worry about the one thing. I'm going to go with that scoring prop with the each team and the touchdown. Laying off that one with the touchdown and field goal that I like to, build that big long shot.
Right.
That is proved to be tougher than it sounds.
I could see this happening. So what are your odds for that? A touchdown each team.
So for this one, I have plus 225.
Yeah, that's okay. That's a nice payout. I kind of like that.
I'm
going to have to do a lot of those with these teams I like. In fact, round robin would be the way to go.
Absolutely.
That way, if you can just hit 1 or 2, if you hit just 2, then you can actually at least make your money back. And then if you get really lucky, you just hit them all. Because I think there could be points scored. I think so again in this game. I'll plop in here to, like I said, alternate over 53.5 points. And we'll make this a 5-team round robin as well. So a lot of points there. I could see a blowout here. San Francisco is at the Raiders. I'm going to have some kind of alternate movement on the 49ers at the end of the day. I don't care who's playing. I've seen Jared Stidham play quarterback for the Patriots. It is not pretty. The 49ers do have some motivation to get a better seed here. Now, they could get the 2 seed. That's going to mean an extra game at home potentially here in the playoffs. So all the reason in the world to go into Vegas, beat up on the Raiders. Their cars already left the building. These are 2 teams trending in the complete opposite direction. And I'm not going to let a touchdown and the field goal separate that from me. In fact, I'm going to make that several touchdowns as the Niners can blow the doors off of the Raiders here this week. So it's going to be ugly. It's going to be a stomping. 49ers all the way, David. Your thoughts?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. There's really nothing else in this game but the 49ers. I feel like it's going to be one. Their defense is great. And what are the Raiders going to do, Steve? I mean, come on. Let's go. Oh, I don't know, Steve. Let's go. Let me move this real quick. Let's go 16.5 at plus 203. They won. They beat Washington by 17. Why can't they beat the Raiders more than that? So yeah, this is an alternate spread move for the Niners.
And stay tuned, fans, because right here, I'm gonna go ahead and plug in minus 23.5 at plus 400 for the 49ers into my parlay, which is up to 5 legs. And if this is just a teaser for you, how about this? Right now, this is just $2. This is just $2. Over 52.5 Tampa, over 51.5 Philadelphia, New Orleans, over 55.5 Kansas City, Denver, over 53.5 Jets, Seattle, San Fran minus 23.5. We'll round robin this, but just the $2 5-leg parlay pays $4,672. You can't tell me that those 4 games can't get into the 50s and the 49ers can't blow out the Raiders this week. I mean, I guess it probably doesn't happen. You got to go into these bets expecting to lose, but it could happen.
It could.
And for $2, just $2, Dave. I mean, do you want to be left on the sideline not risking $2 just to win that much money?
Right.
It's worth the $2 in itself.
And I have that 23.5 at plus 471.
Yeah, there you go. I'm going to add that another 4:00 game. We'll move off of that. This will be a 49er blowout there. And I'll use this as the last example. But the Rams are at the Chargers. We talked about Baker Mayfield. Justin Herbert, the quarterback for the Chargers, minus 6.5 for the Chargers, over under 42.5. The Rams showed that they can put up some points and put up some effort here the last few weeks. The Chargers can score as well. This is a neutral field game, although both teams are at home. Both the fan bases are terrible showing up at home. Both of the teams' fan bases are terrible showing up on the road. So you don't know what to expect for this neutral site game where both of these teams actually reside. That's the interesting fact for this. But I do know that 42.5 points seems low to me again. And I'm going to juice this up as well. It's going to be Herbert throwing the ball, Mayfield trying to prove himself to throw the ball. And just to get to 52.5 points is at plus 320. Just to get another couple points to 55 points total, I'll take the plus 420. Our favorite number here, because this is going to really juice this parlay up. And if I add that to the other games we just talked about, now this $2 bet is paying $24,305 off of $2. You want to jack that price up a little bit, Dave. The 6-game alternate line parlay, you put $5 down, it pays $60,000. So this is my advice to you, David. This is my bet to you for $5 for the weekend. Hey, man, if it's the Super Over week and the Niners kill the Raiders, then this can be a nice start to 2023. All right, so I'll take the alternate over here with the Rams and the Chargers. David, talk me off the ledge if you like.
No, I don't think I'm gonna do that, Steve. I'm gonna go right back to that scoring prop. It's going up now as we go through these games. Which is
all right. So a touchdown
crazy.
each half for these teams. Okay,
Yep.
yeah.
Plus 245.
Okay, yeah. So I like that. That's going to be a nice payout already with the 3 games that you have. So it's the Rams, Chargers. What else? Seahawks, Jets.
Yep.
And then the Texans and the Jaguars, all to have a touchdown and a half.
So I don't see why not. Well, I'm just gonna go to that. It could be an offensive type weekend. I feel like.
All right, so if I have 6 teams in this parlay, and I'm going to make it a round robin now, so this is going to be our history lesson for today, people. I now have teams A, B, C, D, E, and F. All right, 6 different options, and here are the games. These are all alternate overs, and what is perceived to be nicer weather situations this weekend. Teams having to have their win, leaving all the stops out there, taking risk, taking chances. Maybe that leads to point their team, and maybe it leads to points for their team. But any sense of the word of scoring, we're going to just take a stab here. We're not asking a lot. We're still asking to get to the most part. So that's a game like 35-20, 34-21, 34-23 gets us there. 31-24, stuff like that. Just higher scoring games. And we haven't had that week where all these teams are high scoring. So that's going to be my philosophy here. We tried this a couple times before with no success. 22 this way. So teams A through F, over 52.5 Carolina, over 51.5 New Orleans, over 55.5 Denver KC, over 53.5 Jets Seattle, over 54.5 Rams Chargers, and the Niners in the blowout minus 23.5. You know what? If we win 3, that's all we're looking for to win. Now, a 16 round robin is going to be expensive. I'm going to put it in $5 denominations all across the board, just so you know what you're dealing with here. This can be a pretty hefty investment at the end of the day. If you want to bet $5 on each of these legs, so a $5 round robin, all the 2 games. So this is all these teams in 2-game parlays, 3-game parlays, 4-game parlays, 5-game parlays, and the 6-game parlay. There's 15 different options now with all these different teams to make 2-game parlays. So let me do the quick math in my head. That's 75. That's 175. That's another 75. That's 250. That's 30. That's 280. So this is $285 bet, Dave. This is a significant investment.
Right.
But you know what? You're talking about investing the minimum to make the maximum here. Here it is. $285 for a grand payout of $189,690. And if you just get some of these teams, you'll get a portion. So the 2-game parlays, if you just two of these 6 hit, then you're going to get about $100 back. So you're going to get a discount. All right, you're not going to quite make your money back. If 3 of these 6 hit, you're now going to get you're going to get a lot of these 2s. You're going to get about $1,000. All right, so you're going to make about $700 on the 3s. Now, if you get 4 of these to hit, now we're starting to talk crazy money. You're going to, $6-7 grand here. If you get 5 of the 6 to hit, then you're going to get about 25,000, something like that. And then if you get all 6 to hit, then you're going to get 189,000. All right. So that's going to be my big ticket. You can get that all on Twitter at DeepEnd757. All right. Through the rest of the games real quick, and we'll get everyone out of here. Back to the NFL board.
Just 1 left?
Packers.
2 left.
3 left with the night games. Packers and Vikings. I like the over here, but I could see the Vikings keeping it close. I just think this is a fun same-game parlay game again, maybe more than anything. I'm not going to make it a centralized portion of my bet, but a good game, and I'm very interested to watch it. What do you like here, Dave?
Well, I'd like, Steve, I'm looking either at the spread for Minnesota is +3. That's +100. I'd be enticed to that. Also on the money line, they're 155. So that's not bad either. And, we'll see. Are they, how much are they going to be playing for? Is it time to rest? It's really just going to depend. Or, Steve, you look at now this one, I mean, you could do a single bet on this and put a couple bucks into it. The Vikings and the Packers, you're telling me that they're not going to score a touchdown in each half? That scoring prop? Really?
Yeah. Yeah, I know. Yeah. They're going to score.
So let's just go back to that. You're going to get plus money out of it.
I just plugged them into my – I mean, the over-under is just 48.5. To move the line up to over 54.5 is at plus 200. I'm now looking at a 7-game round robin, which is a ridiculous investment to make. But maybe this is the week to do it. If I add on a couple $100, spend $500 or so on this round robin, that now pays off $759,000 if all these alternate overs and the 49ers can roll.
We like it.
We need one little win in the meantime, and maybe we'll plop this big bet down.
There you go.
Yeah, so I see a lot of points, Dave. I think you're right there, too.
I think that scoring prop is live for a lot of these.
We might not get points in the night game. Pittsburgh and the Ravens. Ravens -2.5, over under 35.5. The Steelers play unders. I've been trying to play them over. But I think, Dave, you're probably going to like the under here.
I love the under here. Love it.
So, in a high-scoring game, they all can't be high-scoring. So, typical Ravens-Steeler game. So, if there's unders, there's no reason to take props or anything like that. But, you probably don't want to move it too low off 35.5 anyway.
I actually, Steve, I know it's not great, but I leave it. I have it at 35. That's -110. Just leave it. Put it in and let it be a dancing partner for something. It'll at least boost your payout up a little bit, being in with some, a couple other things. Maybe that and a couple of those scoring props might be a way to a nice ticket. I say just leave it alone and let's go under. Baltimore, they're really not scoring many points right now. Neither the Steelers. Good defenses. So yeah, I mean, why not, Steve? I don't see any reason that this game, should go over. Really.
So if you want to get frisky, David, I'm just going to throw this out there.
All right.
Somehow it's crazy. It's not that bad outside weather-wise. The Steelers have to have it. The Ravens have to kind of they're still playing too. Maybe there's some craziness here. Maybe they do get some points. But if you can find a way for these teams to climb up to 47 points, then you get plus 430 on a payout.
Wow.
I'm just saying that. All right. So in a weird week, maybe weird stuff will happen with the overs. But yeah, I can see the under argument there all day. I'm going to take a wait and see approach on this game. Probably the same thing on this game as well. The Bills are at the Bengals. Bills minus 1.5 over under 49.5. Good game, heavyweight matchup. Probably some sort of a preview in the AFC playoffs down the road.
No doubt.
Cincinnati nice at home. Buffalo hasn't been doing great Buffalo things. They're not the bookie slaughter machine we declared them to be from day one. Your take, David, on this?
So yeah, Steve, I'm opening up because there's there's probably quite a few things you could do with it.
This could be your touchdown each half game.
Yeah, absolutely. So I have here also, this is actually, I think, the first one that they've given me, Steve. I finally have for us a weekly special that I don't think is terrible. So I have Gabe Davis, 1 receiving touchdown, and T. Higgins for a receiving touchdown at plus 500. I don't hate that at all. I think that's certainly achievable, especially if these two teams are going to be scoring points against each other all night. So there's that way to go with it. That's certainly something that I'm going to look at later. But what I really want to do with this, because I think this is definitely coming. Now, and they don't want to give it to me. They were reading my mind, so it's not on there. Maybe as time flows forward to that game, it'll be on there. But if that scoring prop, each team for a touchdown each half, if that pops up, I think that is an absolute green light in this game.
It should pop. Hopefully it does.
But that weekly special is also appetizing to me as well.
Yeah, okay. We haven't had many sound effects today. We'll try to get those in here at the end. All right, that's the whole slate, Dave.
That's it.
So I'll go down my picks, I guess, here in a second. Go ahead and repeat everything that you like one time here.
All right, Steve. So we went over a lot of those scoring props. I understand that. Sorry, Steve. My book is being. So we went over a couple different scoring props in each of these games. I like it in the Buffalo Cincinnati once it becomes available. I can imagine that it won't. And I think there was a couple others. I don't actually want. So I had one rigged up here. Here we go. Steve, this is my play for the weekend that I really, really like. I have the Panthers and Buccaneers each to score a touchdown in each half. 47.5. The alternate over there in the Eagles game. And each team to score a touchdown in each half, Jacksonville and Houston. And if you put a $20 bill on that, Steve, it's going to return you $633.
Ooh, all right, nice. That sounds pretty good, David. I'm playing with this round robin, and the numbers are just ridiculous, to be honest. All right, so I'm going to take over 52.5 Carolina, Tampa Bay. I'm going to take over 51.5 New Orleans, Philadelphia. I'm going to take over 55.5 Denver, Kansas City. These are all at big plus number prices. Anywhere in the range of 300 to 430 is the biggest one I got. So just in that window, over 53.5 Jets, Seahawks. I said over 55.5 Broncos, Chiefs. All right. 49ers minus 23.5 in a super blowout. I've seen Jared Stidham play. The Niners are going to come in here and destroy. And a lot of fans there for the Niners in Vegas as well. Over 54.5 Rams, Chargers, plus 420. That's kind of a reach here. I'm going to take a low ball shot, actually. We're going to throw Minnesota, Green Bay on here at plus 200 at over 54.5 points. And if I'm going to get super crazy in the 8th slot here, I'm going to take over 46.5 points. Steelers, Ravens, and the game that has no business going over whatsoever. But, hey, man, this 8-game parlay with these alternate overs and the Niners minus 23.5, a $5 8-game parlay pays $966,234.82. So, if you listen to the show and you don't bet this and that happens, sorry, I told you. I'm going to play. In fact, if you want to get frisky, and this is a cheap way of doing it, I'm kind of trickling down the numbers. 7 of the 8, if you just put $1 down, then you're looking at $40,000. If you hit 7 of the 8, if you do hit 6 of the 8, you're looking at about $9,000 if you put just $1 down. So right there, you're looking at a 30 with the $5 8-gamer, you're looking at a $41 investment. And then if you just want to go all the way to $100 and call it a day, bet the 5s, so 5 of the 8, and you're looking at a payout of about $2,200 if you get 5 of the 8 of these to actually happen. I think you're going to get 3 or 4 anyway. And that's going to pay out good too. So pick and choose wisely. Even if you go down to the 4s here, it looks like it's about $500. Yeah, 4 of the 8 wins you $500. That's another $70 for all those 4-game parlays, Dave. That's crazy.
Yep.
That's a lot of 74-game parlays with that combination.
Wow.
All right, so that's fun if you have the money, people. Touchdown score props. Let's see, any other weird plays I like. I would lean Commanders over maybe in a weird way. Brian Robinson, 2 touchdowns, whatever that ends up being. If they have him on the board, they do. They took Gibson off. Robinson is just plus 550 for 2 touchdowns. This is the week for him, I think.
Yeah, it certainly could be.
2 touchdown scores. Anyone else who's going to float my fancy here? There's going to be a lot of points in a lot of games. Justin Fields, I'll take a look at it at plus 550. I think we'll take a look at him. I'm going to take a shot at maybe a Kadarius Toney with the Chiefs. 2 touchdowns. There's going to be points in that game. Austin Eckler would get 2 touchdowns for me again. He seems to score a lot. Maybe Higbee, or Akers, maybe one of those guys for the Rams as well if we expect points in that game. All right, I think that's going to do it. I'm going to take a break for a couple hours. Going to do some real work, come back, get on top of these soccer games as fast as I can. I'm not going to have any graphics up. I'm not going to – maybe I'll have time to get it organized. We'll see. I'll be back on the air at 4 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time with the Friday Soccer Paycheck. Lots of soccer in action and a big soccer weekend ahead. And I think we can dissect a few things to try to find some sort of a decent payoff and try to keep the hot streak winning in soccer. What the puck is going on, we'll come back on the 2nd, right? January 2nd, Monday night.
Monday evening. 6
p.m. And we'll be all geared up for everything in NHL, which is as crazy as ever right now.
Up, man, it's getting wild.
Even the bad teams like Arizona. I watched some of that last night against Toronto. They don't look too bad.
And just the second time they've beat them, Steve.
Yeah.
And they're almost to 500 now.
Yep. So interesting stuff happening in soccer. All right, so this is the round robin. We appreciate you guys tuning in to us. Let's see our party. Let's see also CP Shuckers wild card weekend, 11 a.m. till 2 p.m. before the wild card games start. We'll do a little day party to make up for our Christmas mishaps with the health issues that we had. 100% happy to report. So thank you. This has been a fun Friday. Lots of fun information. I've learned a lot. Hopefully you did too. Let's go ahead and cash some tickets. All right, Dave, good luck this weekend.
Yes, sir.
All right, everyone, have a good one. A safe, happy New Year wherever you are in this universe.